Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, how is everyone doing? Today's live, we are going to be going at it in English rather than in Urdu because I want this to reach a wider audience, and the content that we are reviewing has a audience that is primarily in English. So we are going to be dealing with this topic, this video, with this debate in English, inshallah ta'ala. So let me know if you guys can hear me properly, how are you guys doing? Then we'll dive right into the debate. I won't be covering the whole, how long is this? 2 hours and 30 minutes approximately. I won't be covering that from end to end, but I will definitely be going through the important arguments that is being made. I have seen clips from the debate, and I've seen the end of the debate, and even the guy on the left, more Moistcritikal or Penguin Z0 something, he basically said that he is not good at debate and he made a fool out of himself. And we're gonna look at the arguments and what mistakes did Moist make, what did mistakes did Sneako made, or what things that he could have done better. Let's see if there were any, and we could add on to that. And most importantly, the reason that I am reviewing this debate is because Islam was mentioned in this, and it is a good opportunity to clarify some misconception that people might have. So let's get right into it, inshallah ta'ala.
People have this idea that I was an angry person, or maybe that's how you painted me. And then seeing you like walk around like with the nice smile, I was like, okay, this guy's he's not that Red Bull rage.
Hey man, I don't try and paint you as aggressive or anything, but your clips, you go ballistic.
Okay, so let me know if you guys can hear it or if it's too fast. If it's too fast, then I can turn it down. Okay.
I'm all clips.
So let me know. So let's see the debate. Let's see how it started.
Max, but things do get clipped out of context. Download the app and then they
side of your family nest. Anything under that, you're still a kid.
Okay.
Okay, so the debate is starting.
Age of consent, unlike the age of consent.
Okay, so what was it?
Download the app and then they try to watch my video and they got to sign in.
Okay.
But it's
so the debate is starting.
I do like the challenge. But...
starting about here. Okay, so by the way, so we should be fair to the guy on the left, Moistcritikal. He said that he wasn't informed it is going to be a debate. He didn't go with the intention of a debate. That's fine. It doesn't really matter because you should be able to substantiate these claims if you're making these extreme statements about many things. Okay.
Yeah. So let's talk about what we came to talk about.
Yeah, man. So with all of what's going on here, why are you so insistent on the age of consent being unreasonable? Or at least that's the impression most people gather from the way you speak about it.
That's a valid question, and I want to first ask what's your issue with my opinion on the age of consent, age of marriage?
Because I feel like age of consent should just be an accepted number, and I think the accepted one is 18. Regardless of where you talk about the world, I feel like once you start talking about someone under 18, you're basically just talking like a predator. I feel like 18 is a pretty well-established number for most sensible people. At 18, you're going to college, you're living your own life now, you're outside of your family nest. Anything under that, you're still a kid.
Okay. It's not 18 in most of the United States where we both live, right?
Yeah, but that refers to Romeo and Juliet laws, where if you're 19 and with a 16-year-old, it's not technically illegal, but you're not a 19-year-old, right? So why would you be arguing for a 16?
Well, first of all, I'm not arguing to lower the age of consent. I don't believe in the age of consent. We can get there. I want to establish some terms first.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's not even just with Romeo and Juliet laws. There's a lot of states where it's 16 regardless of Romeo and Juliet. And then you go to Europe, most countries are 16. Japan, I think they just changed it. It was 13 or 14, and now it's 16. Brazil, it's 14. I saw that from a Nelk Boys video. They were joking around about how they should, when in Rome, they're in Brazil, so they might as well sleep with a 14-year-old, right? Or across the world, 18. I want to see, why do you think 18 is the age of consent?
Because that right now is the one that makes the most sense. I guess to piggyback off what you're saying, so if you're traveling right now, if you go to Europe, are you going to be comfortable hooking up with a 16-year-old? Just because it's legal there, would that make you feel comfortable?
No, I don't hook up anymore. I'm
not saying that you do, but I'm saying if you were single and looking for someone, would you feel comfortable with it being a 16-year-old if it's in Europe versus US?
Okay, so the point that Sneako is trying to make is saying that your definition of age of consent is basically based on your culture, your government. So this is what in philosophical or the ethics and the philosophy of ethics or axiology, this is what we would call cultural relativism, where culture defines what your morality is. And this is basically what most people hold on to. Majority of the world will just adheres to the moral or morality of the custom. Uh, so yeah, this is same with Moistcritikal. And the issue that arises with this is that exactly the point that Sneako is actually the what Moist is saying, that if you move to England, would you be okay to hooking up with a 16-year-old? The point is that Moist shouldn't have a problem with someone hooking up with a 16-year-old if that society deems it to be okay to hook up with a 16-year-old. That is the whole point. You are saying something is immoral because your society says it is immoral, and you say that it is the most commonly accepted. Well, other societies do not accept that. They accept it at a very lower age. So for them, you are for them 16, 17, dating them or having sex with them is not pedophilia. Well, grammatically and linguistically, not pedophilia anyways, because pedophilia is actually prepubescent and having affairs with them. But that's another discussion.
I wouldn't do that. Like, I would not have sex before. I think sex, like, out of wedlock altogether, is something that we should not encourage anymore. And having the age of consent, having that idea encourages people to have premarital sex, right? Just that term, age of consent, means you're consenting to something that we shouldn't be doing. So no, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that.
Okay, so then instead of let's take it away from like premarital sex, would you feel comfortable marrying a 16-year-old? Like, would you meet a 16-year-old with romantic intent if you're in Europe, and maybe marry a 16-year-old?
I would.
Sexual.
I probably wouldn't personally, because I don't think that I'd be on the same mental playing field. I like to have intellectual conversations. I like to be with women that are around my same age, because then I can have conversations. I like to relate to them. I think there'd be too much of a gap. But other people, like, if they're able to get along, then I don't see why that's so much of a problem.
But why don't you see that as a problem? So for you, you're recognizing, like, this person's much younger than me. It is a kid. Like, you are talking to.
Okay, so let's define these terms. Let's before we even get to, let's define these terms before we even get into this conversation. What is a child?
I would use the age of consent. Under 18 would be a kid in my eyes. So a 17-year-old who's 364 days, that's a kid? Yep, I'm gonna use very hard set terms. If it is under 18, even if it's 17, 364, that's still a kid.
That's a kid. Okay, so
I think it's important to have these hard lines in the sand where it doesn't have this kind of wiggle room.
Yeah, see, that doesn't make any sense, right? Like a kid or someone who is 17 and 364 days, and 1 day and 1 second, right after that, that's an adult. That doesn't make any sense, right? Because the thing is that, like, if you want to look at it from a biological perspective, someone might be a 70-year-old, or psychological and biological perspective, someone might be a 17-year-old and would have those things that a 25-year-old might have, like he might have developed to what a 22, 23-year-old might have developed at 17 years old, while an 18-year-old might not have developed those things. So Moist is here just arguing that there needs to be some line, or society is gonna go like immoral. It's gonna become immoral. It's gonna be completely nonsensical. Absurd things are gonna start happening. People are gonna start dating way younger people just because there is no hard line. This is what I believe Moist is reasoning here. But there's an issue to this because you have no valid reason to make it that to write it in stone that is the age of consent. Okay, yeah, let's move from there.
Okay, why does that define kid?
As I said earlier, at 18, at that point, you're going out of high school, you're going to college, you're living on your own, you're no longer, a child under your parents' roof, for the most part, extenuating circumstances, of course. But at that age, you are starting to become independent. You are no longer just in your parents' household a kid. You are now going off into the world on your own.
You do admit that varies for most people, right? A lot of people don't move out of their parents' homes until they're 25. It's a huge variable. So to set that in stone is that this is people.
Because it needs to be defined. Otherwise, you can get into this really gray area where you like, a lot of the things you say can be misconstrued as you wanting to have sex with a 15, 16-year-old.
Who construed that?
A lot of people, because I mean,
I don't
in
think
the clips that I played in the video, you were
no,
saying like the age of maturity, the age of development, and then you use 16 and 17 in that clip.
So,
like, for the age of marriage.
The definition of an adult is 18 years old.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fine establishment right there. Anything under 18 would classify as a kid. I think that's important.
Okay, but you're getting that from what? From personal experience, from the government, from the law? Because that's legally in America, that's when you become an adult, correct?
Yeah, legally.
So you're following the government's definition of an adult.
I think there needs to be a definition, and that one's been around for a long time, and I think that's the one most people accept as the closest to, like, yeah, this is when you become an adult.
It actually hasn't, right? 200 years ago in the 1800s in America, the age of marriage.
We can't live like that. We're so much more advanced than that. Why would we play by those rules? Because at that point, are you going to start arguing that we should be able to start wedding 12-year-olds? Like, is 12 too?
Sneako is not saying that we need, why should we go back, or why should we justify it using history. He's not saying to justify it using reason based on history or what history is upon. What he's saying that if the method that you're using to justify it today can be the exact same method someone could have used 200 years ago. So if you're saying that, oh, this is obvious, this is what society deemed, this is what society agreed upon, time travel 200 years ago, and they would have said the exact same thing, and you couldn't be the wiser, right? You wouldn't have been able to say, oh no, this is immoral. But obviously you could say that, because just because society decides something doesn't make it immoral. Morality is not democratic. Majority does not decide morality. It's very simple. It's a very simple concept. Nobody should have a hard time understanding this, but a lot of people do. Most people actually do.
Too young?
That's not the point. I'm saying you're saying that the U.S. defined adult as 18. Well, I'm saying 200 years ago, the age of marriage in America was 10, and the UK was 7. Right. So if the government decides to change it, you're saying it's 18. If the government, maybe if Kamala Harris gets elected, then the new legal age of an adult is 25. And there could be reasons to say that. They graduated college, they don't leave the house until this age. The brains don't develop until they're 25. Your frontal cortex is not fully developed until you're 25 years old. A lot of people aren't making serious money. They're not able to live independently. A lot of things that you could use to classify an adult don't happen for the new age American until 25 years old. So if Kamala Harris raised it to 25, would you then say that that's the new age? Would you agree with that?
I think that'd be totally understandable. Like,
right.
I think that's fine.
So then does that make anybody who sleeps with an under 25-year-old, does that now make them a pedophile?
No, I don't think necessarily that makes them a retroactive pedophile.
So then what's a pedophile?
But it's an accepted,
So as you guys see, this is an inconsistency. Wa alaikum assalam to everyone in the stream. This is an inconsistency on his part, right? This is an inconsistency on Moistcritikal's part, because basically what he's saying is that laws determine his morality. If someone comes up and they determine the morality, they change the laws, then his morality should change. But he's saying it's not necessarily the case. Then your morality is not necessarily the case. That is it. Simple as that. All right, so let's go.
It's an accepted definition of 18 for a long time. Is
not for that long. Not for that long, and not through most states, and not through most countries across the world.
Do you see why this is like a weird take to have though? Like I don't think you're coming at this from a place of you wanting to fuck a 15-year-old, are you? Like, to go back to that question, is 12 too young? Do you think 12 is too young?
I think 12 is too young for me. Yes.
Well, for you, do you think 12 is too young in general? I feel like that should be an easy answer.
12 is too young in general, correct?
Okay.
Yes.
And I don't think
I want to define. But what you're saying, your definition of adult is not even the actual definition. Do you know what the definition of child is? Like, anybody watching this can Google it. You can Google it too. The definition of child is somebody who has not reached puberty yet. That's the definition.
Yeah, and then you get into like a pedophile or whatever as opposed to pedophile, and those are all.
I don't know. I have no idea what those terms are. I don't know what that is, but I'm saying that's the actual definition. When somebody reaches maturity, it's based off of biological and physical maturity.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it varies for everybody. Adulthood is not something that you can set in stone because it's different for the entire world. I moved out when I was 14. A lot of people don't move out until they're 25. I went through puberty when I was 17. A lot of people went through puberty when they were 13, 14, 15. It changes for everybody. So for you to say that this is the set in stone age and say you're a pedophile if it's under 18, and then if you're over 18, you're fine. Well, then that's a weird line that doesn't make sense. So you're going to say this person is a terrible person if they're 17 years old, 364 days, and right after that they're good to go. Well, it changes for everybody. So we have to have something, a definition. We have to be realistic with everybody. Well, we don't. But you're saying we, but that's not even the case in the country we live in.
Why argue against it? If you don't want the age of consent to be lowered, why are you making arguments that the same people who do make? Right now, what you're saying is kind of what NAMBLA used to say, if you're familiar with NAMBLA.
I have no idea what this is.
NAMBLA was the North American Man-Boy Lover Association. They
because these people don't want to, they want to have sex to take advantage, and they don't abide by the rules of marriage. They don't have any sort of morality. They just want to have, I'm arguing for this because I believe in marriage. Sex should only be within wedlock. That's why I'm talking about this.
Why, if you're arguing, we can take sex out of it. Why, when you're arguing for marriage, do you want it to drop? Like, okay, 16,
when did I say, just because I don't believe in the age of consent does not mean that I want it to drop. Like, see, that's where like the internet, you can go apply that just because I'm saying, no, because you're saying the definition of an adult is 18. I'm saying that's an arbitrary number and that makes no sense. We should encourage marriage when people reach maturity. That makes much more logical sense.
That's even more vague though. Like, but also you directly
because it's different for everybody.
When someone can legally drive, they should be able to legally marry. You did say that to me.
Right. When somebody is legally ready to drive, the same thing. I think adults should drive cars. That's why I told you that.
Yeah, but 15 and 16-year-olds can drive cars. You said when someone can legally drive
across the world, 15 and 16-year-olds can have sex too. I think that people should not operate, but see, you keep thinking that I'm saying this because I want the age to be lowered. That's not what I'm talking about at all.
That's what it comes across as, though. When you
maybe with the internet brain, because people in the West, they want to have sex all the time and they have a different sort of mindset. Right here in the Middle East, I'm in the Middle East right now. They want to get married and then have sex. So people, just because I'm saying this does not mean automatically lower. No, that's not the case at all. I want to ask you then, because you're insinuating that it sounds creepy and that I sound like a pedophile. What's the definition of pedophile?
It is an adult who is attracted to children.
Yeah, it comes from the Greek word pedo means child and phile means love. So somebody who loves a child.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
An adult who is attracted to a child.
To a child, somebody who has not reached physical maturity.
Yes.
That's the definition of child. Somebody who hasn't reached physical maturity. It has nothing to do with 18. The definition of the word talks about physical maturity, not the U.S. government definition that you're basing it off of.
But there needs to be an agreed upon place. Otherwise, you get into this area. Again, you said when you can legally drive, you should be able to legally marry.
Right.
We don't have to talk about sex. Do you think it's okay to be marrying a 15 or 16-year-old? Probably not, right? I would imagine probably not.
It depends. So this is where the age of consent becomes arbitrary. I don't even believe like that. Consent is a weird thing to even speak about, but it should be the father, right? If I want to marry a girl, I shouldn't even just get consent from her. I should get consent from her parents. She should want to say yes. Her parents should want to say yes. That's consent from the family, and then you get married. That's the Islamic way. That's the only way that makes sense. This American way of this girl wants to have sex now, she gave consent, and then you get all these false allegations like, oh, she was drunk, oh, she took it back, oh, she retracted consent. All this stuff, like there's not even a specific way that we can define consent. What is consent? Some people say it's yes. Some people say it's like nonverbal communication. Some people say that it doesn't count because she was under the influence or she was intimidated. Even this is an arbitrary, is a weird way to define when you're allowed to be in a relationship with somebody.
You're kind of talking around it, though. Those are all very different things. Like I said, we don't have to be talking about sex. I was talking about marriage. The question was, do you think, and you said when you are legally able to drive, you should be able to legally marry. Do you think it is okay for an adult to legally marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
Okay, well, by my logic, if the man is physically mature, if he's went through puberty and he's mentally ready at the age of 16, he's an adult. If he wants to get married to another girl who becomes a woman.
I just said an adult. Is it okay for an adult?
Right, and but we haven't even established exactly what an adult. So if somebody goes through puberty and they're physically ready, they're biologically ready, they're an adult. So the two 16-year-olds can be considered adults by my logic.
We're not talking about two.
What are you talking about?
We're talking about an adult.
That is an adult. What I'm saying is
that.
So then what is an adult now?
Okay. We'll use your age. Someone who is 25. Is it okay for someone who's in their 20s to marry a 15 or 16-year-old? And let me explain. When you're doing your arguments, it's coming from an adult. I've never heard you say like two teenagers should be able to marry. Like I haven't heard that with these takes. I'm talking about someone in your position in the 20s. Is it okay for you to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
But teenager, even bringing up this term that has nothing to do with child and adult. So there's two phases. You're a child and then you physically mature.
I don't know why you can't just
your body
answer that
becomes. I'm saying the difference between a child and adult is when you're physically and when you're biologically, when you're mentally ready to have kids. That's the teenager is not even. So you added another term in this. It goes child and adult. You mature and then you're physically ready.
Well, I didn't add you brought in two 16-year-olds. We were talking about an adult and a 15 or 16-year-old. I was not the one that brought this into the equation.
Right. If it's illegal, if it's illegal, because we believe in Islam, we believe that we should obey the law of the land. If that's illegal, okay. if that's not permissible, then we don't do it. We don't break the law.
But I'm talking about your personal beliefs. Do you think someone in their 20s should be able to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
Does someone in their 20s should? I mean, I personally wouldn't do it. I don't know many people who would do it. The maturity.
So the entire debate is still revolving around what is the age of consent. Specifically, is 12 age of consent. Sneako is arguing around the definitions, and this is a really good way of debating. Like debate the definitions. Like if you define something differently from me, then we can never reach a conclusion because we are talking about two completely different things. But when Sneako does it, he says that this is how things are defined. This is how a pedophile is defined, who is attracted to a child, and a child is defined who reaches physical maturity. Then linguistically, you cannot call someone who marries someone who reaches puberty and marries them, or has a relationship with them. You cannot linguistically call them a pedophile. You just cannot. You need to redefine what a pedophile means. Then someone who's not only attracted to a child, but someone who's below 18. And then you also need to redefine what a child means. You will need to redefine a child who is anyone who is below 18 is a child, regardless of puberty. So even if someone does not reach puberty, let's say someone is mentally ill, like they don't mentally mature, neither did they physically mature, and they reach the age of 18, they are no longer a child, they are an adult. The day on their birthday, they are no longer a child, they are an adult, irrespective of the physical or mental maturity. On the this is the downside of what Moistcritikal is arguing for. Someone who does not reach physical or mental maturity, even if they strike the age of 18, like they have lived for 18 years, they can give consent automatically for some odd reason. This is what he's arguing for, right? Sneako, on the other hand, he's arguing for, well, you need to redefine your terms then. Rather, he's arguing that your definitions are flawed. So let's continue with the debate. I would say Sneako, without doubt, he has the upper hand here. Moistcritikal has no idea what he's talking about. He has absolutely zero idea what he's talking about. It's clear that he never sits down and thinks about what he believes. And this is a problem with a lot of people nowadays. Like, this is the norm, how people think. They just never sit down and actually think of what they believe and what they deem as right and wrong. When they do, then there's a problem. They do see inconsistencies, and this is an inconsistency regarding Moistcritikal's view. And regarding Sneako, Sneako should be, better with his words, to be honest. Like Moistcritikal is trying to say that, oh, so you are okay with marrying a 12-year-old just because they reach puberty. Islamically, it's not just about reaching puberty, rather it's more about being mature enough to get married. So it's all around. So physical, mental maturity needs to be there for being ready for marriage. So, for example, just because someone hit puberty, in the sense that they grew hair. Okay, first of all, defining puberty, the way that puberty is defined, or what it means to hit puberty from a Western lens, okay, is not exactly the same as what Islam defines as a bulughat, right? So when a child or a boy or a girl becomes a woman or a man, right? It's not exactly the same. The tick boxes, the boxes that need to be ticked, are not exactly the same. For one, it's purely biological. Like for puberty, it's purely biological, in the sense that what their hormones are, or how their hormones are functioning, how their development is, have they started to grow hair and stuff like that. While for Islamically, it's not just about that. That is also considered, but it also has to do with other factors, like not only should they be puberty should not only affect them, but they should also, when they're married, should not be harmed by the intercourse and whatever, because obviously it comes under the broader scope of not harming another individual without a valid reason. So this all things are looked into perspective. So Sneako could have argued better. So when he was asked that, okay, so do you think that you should marry a 12-year-old, he should have said that 12-year-olds do not hit puberty as such in this day and age, and hence I do not support this. He could have said that. Or if Moise would say, no, a lot of people do hit puberty at 12, or say, okay, if they do hit puberty at 12 and they're mentally and physically matured, then yes, they should be able to marry. He should have very much said that, but he would say that in today's day and age they are not. He should have clarified that in today's America, no one 12-year-old is mentally prepared to get married. They would, and also most are not physically mature to get married. So hence the case, we would nullify that. So Sneako could have argued as such. But now the thing is that he just looks like he's arguing for marrying 12 years old, who are not, even if it's like an 8-year-old hits puberty, they can marry. Like, for example, there are people who hit puberty like at 5 or 4 years old, right? They do, right? Just like biological puberty, like what I said in the Western academia, what is defined as puberty, they do hit that like a very young age, but it doesn't mean that they're ready for marriage, right? It's very, this is the concept that needs to be understood. Okay, here we go.
For people in the teenagers in the West, it's getting much worse, but there are
We're talking globally. Let's just talk globally. Like, do you think it is okay for, I'm not talking about just you specifically anymore, anyone, do you think it's okay for anyone in their 20s, an adult, to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
A 21-year-old, if there was a marriage where the father consented and the daughter consented, and it was both good on both families and they wanted to do it, why am I going to get involved? Why should we get the government involved? Why would I tell them if everybody's consenting, if everybody's okay with it, if the parents are okay with it, if nobody's being harmed, if it's going to be okay, if they're both abiding by the rules and they're not hurting each other, why not?
But they're still, like, they're at best a sophomore in high school. They can't consent to something like that. Like, do you think?
Okay, so now it's sophomore in high school versus senior in high school. What's the difference? Like, what's the difference?
I'm just saying, like, I'm giving you a perspective on where that age would be in life. Like, they can't consent to something like that.
That's probably, you're bringing up an outlier that's probably not going to happen as much. I'm saying that these are arbitrary reasons to say, like, a sophomore versus a senior in high school. How much different were you really maturity wise? It wasn't that much of a difference. The reason that you keep saying 18 is because in California, where they post Hollywood movies, it's 18. And so everybody across the world, this is the standard that we believe in. This is the correct age, exactly on the dot. And if it's anything under that, are you going to say here that if a 21-year-old got married to a 17-year-old who was almost 18, is that 21-year-old a pedophile?
I would say that is a morally bad thing to do for sure.
Not morally bad. Not morally bad.
I wouldn't call them a pedophile.
So when does somebody become a pedophile?
I would say when you have this position, you're
not answering the question.
I'm explaining it.
Okay.
When you are in your 20s and you start preying upon someone who is still a child, a 15, 16, 14, anything under 18, a 21 and a 17-year-old.
You still haven't specifically defined what a child is.
I did.
So then why? Okay, there you go. So if pedophile is love of children, and your definition of adult starts at 18, if the 21-year-old marries a 17-year-old who's turning 18 tomorrow, he is a pedophile based off your definition.
As I said, if he would wait, he would not be. Then,
Well, not wait. Based off your definition, that
in
person's
that position, there is no reason to not wait for the legally established, agreed upon definition of when you stop being a child.
Okay, so now we get into the question of whether the pedophile thing, is that a moral answer or a legal answer? Because it seems like morally, it's pretty much, okay, it's almost there. That morally, that's not a pedophile. Legally, it is. But those are two different things.
But they don't need to be. They,
Yes,
they can coexist. You recognize that, right?
No. Then that's when you muddy up morality with the law. Now you're allowing the government to determine morality, and that's where things get muddied up, because if they changed it like they did before, like 200 years ago in the 1800s when it was age of 10, that was fine. Legally back then, they were not a pedophile. Today, legally, they are a pedophile. There's no consistency there. You can't allow the government to determine morality because it changes all the time. Tomorrow, if the US government legalized bestiality, if the government legalized incest, based off your logic, there'd be no reason why that's wrong. Can I ask you, Moist, do you think that incest is wrong?
Yes.
Why is incest wrong?
There is under no circumstances any excuse for anyone of the same bloodline to be romantic like that. By no means at all.
Why?
I really think it should be pretty obvious why.
I don't know why. I'm asking you.
I know where you're going with this because I've heard this argument from another streamer before about like the ethics of incest. If they don't have a kid and thus don't pass down like bad genes that lead to a bad child. I've heard this before.
So I want to hear your answer, because are we going with legal, or are we going to follow some sort of morality, some sort of consistent morality? Why is incest wrong?
Incest is wrong because I believe that no family dynamic should ever include a sexual relation.
Why?
I don't think that, because it is not healthy. It is a bad thing to do. It is a horrible thing to subject someone to.
But why is it horrible? Because who told you that?
It's what I believe. And also, if you do have a child with your own kin, the child suffers.
Okay, but say it's two gay brothers, Chris Tyson and other Chris Tyson and Chris. If they're two brothers and they decide to be in
This is basically what Sneako is doing. It's a clever card, because the angle that Moistcritikal was going, that you harm the child, or you do this, you harm the child, and hence it is wrong. Basically making the harm principle the principle that validates his position. Sneako is showing that harm principle is not a valid way to argue for morality, because there are a lot of things that do not produce harm but are moral. Just because something does not produce harm or produces harm does not make it moral or immoral, which is obvious if you think about it. And this is a very good example. Incest if it does not produce harm, okay, or abnormalities. For example, in a case of two brothers having intercourse, no offspring will there will be no offspring, because they're obviously two males, and it's incest. What is wrong with that? A lot of philosophers, even scientists, have said there's nothing morally wrong with that. It can be taboo, it can be disgusting to them, but from a moral perspective, ethical perspective, it is not wrong. So yeah, this point is actually a good point. A lot of philosophers who promote this position of, like Moistcritikal, they bite the bullet on this. They do bite the bullet, and they say there's nothing wrong with incest. Moist, obviously, he's not going to say that. Also, a lot of philosophers even go to the end of it and say pedophilia is not necessarily wrong in the sense that pedophilia, in the sense that what a lot of people think nowadays. So they would say that marrying someone who's 15, 16, or having intercourse with them is not morally wrong. They would argue with that. They would say that 18 years age of consent is very high, and they would give similar reasons. They would say there is no biological harm. Okay, if a 20-year-old has intercourse with a 16 years old, there is no biological harm to 16 years old. We have seen many cases where it is not the case. They don't have any harm. It's like very normal. It's like they're physically very mature. A lot of 16-year-olds, they're very mature physically. So they would argue that no, this is obviously not, because there is no physical harm, it is moral. Then they would argue that, then there is mental harm on the 16 years old. There are a lot of mental harm on the 18-year-old. A lot of 18-year-olds have been in a relationship with a 30-year-old or a 28-year-old, and because of the age difference, yes, they were not compatible. There were issues, and it caused mental harm on them. It doesn't mean that every relationship is going to be like that. It doesn't make it intrinsically immoral, right? Similarly, throughout history, 16-year-olds have married way older men, and the marriages have worked. A lot of our ancestors, like our parents of our parents, married at that age, and it was fine. It worked, right? Just think outside the box for a second, Moist. You are. I'm going to be very fair. He is losing the debate. If we are looking at this from a debate perspective, he is definitely losing this. Sneako, but also should be better with his word at times.
No. Genuine question. It's what you believe in. I want to figure out where your beliefs come from. You personally believe that.
My beliefs come from a place of what I believe to be moral, where I don't believe that anyone in the same family has any position to be romantic with one another. I don't think
So
that's
your morality comes from yourself?
My morality comes from like the world around me. I don't have.
Okay, so if the morality comes from the world around you, then by your logic, if you lived in America in the 1800s where the age of 10 was okay, and where the age of 7 was okay in England just 200 years ago, if you followed the world around you, that would be okay. That was fine.
And it's not now because we've evolved past them. We are significantly further along to recognize that this was a bad thing. People evolve. Like people like here, we'll go even stupider with this.
So your morality is ever changing.
Yes, morality is changing. Like you are not born and then stay the same the entire time. As you take in more information, as you grow,
the land. Where would you get?
Everyone has their own individuality.
Individuality has nothing to do with morals. Your personal,
because your morals are formed from your personal experiences and from what you take in around you.
My voice clear now? Let me know so I can continue, inshallah ta'ala. Aisha? How is my voice now? Just let me know if you guys can. Okay, alhamdulillah. The voice is clear. Okay, so Moist has made a error and he can completely get destroyed right now. Okay, he'll completely get destroyed right now. He can completely get destroyed right now, and he could have gotten humiliated with all the people watching the debate, because in all honesty, like he what he said is completely absurd. So first of all, you're saying that people agree and hence this is moral and whatnot. People have agreed to this age of consent and we need this. So Sneako is very well saying that, okay, if you're saying that, then if it changes, then your morality will change. He's saying no. Then he says it comes from my individual experience and from my individuality. What in the world are you saying, man? If it comes from your individual experiences, you cannot force them on someone else. Okay? You cannot force your individual's opinions on someone else. First point. Second point, if morality comes from individual experiences and they're justified based on individualistic experiences, on what basis will you say Hitler is wrong? You would say, based on my individual experience, Hitler is wrong. Hitler would say, oh, well, based on my individual experience, I'm not wrong. What are you going to say then? You cannot say anything if this is how you argue. It's absurd. It's completely absurd argument. So let's move ahead with this.
Okay, so but if you take it in from the people around you, then incest would be okay if everybody was doing it.
If you personally didn't agree with it, it wouldn't be. Like if you want, like I don't know why you're doing the argument a little incorrectly, but I know where you're trying to go. But the point is, like the fact of the matter is, people will always have their own perspectives on things, unless of course you just follow what you are told 100% of the time. Like for you, you're pushing back against the age of consent because you.
Yeah, but the thing is that what basically Moise is saying, that if you have a different opinion, then it is not moral for you. Yes, that's the point. It might be not moral for you. You might not think it is moral. You might not believe it is moral, or you might believe it is moral, or might think it is moral, but it does not necessitate it as such. Meaning, just because you think something is moral or immoral, it does not make it the case. Just because I think incest is bad and you think it is okay, doesn't make it either. I have to substantiate my proof. I have to show it why it is the case. Okay, basically this is the whole debate about subjective morality and objective morality, and what Moistcritikal is arguing for is completely subjective morality. He used the word individualistic, personal experiences, opinions, right, beliefs, I believe he said. Like this is all subjective opinions, like subjective beliefs. It's subjective morality, meaning that objectively incest, pedophilia are not wrong. because it's just subjective morality, meaning it is just opinion, personal beliefs, and faith at best. So let's move on.
You don't like being told that this is what it is based on this. You believe that, well, actually, there's a couple other extenuating circumstances in these cases.
That's not what I believe in. My belief comes from something that's consistent. It comes from the Islamic way. It comes from the Islamic way because nothing else makes sense. The Western way is always adapting, and now we allow people to change their gender, something that was admonishable only 10 years ago, something that was shamed upon. 10 years ago, if Chris Tyson was going on Mr. Beast video and he was there dressed up like a girl and he was saying that I'm taking puberty blockers, hormone blockers, everybody would admonish him. And a lot of places he would be excommunicated. He would say, absolutely, I do not want kids to take hormone blockers and change themselves forever. But today, that's allowed. Today, that's pushed. Today, that's okay. And then everybody else kind of falls into suit. There are a small minority of people in the West, people that believe in God. They say that this is absolutely wrong, and then they get banned for it. You can't follow the people that are around you, the ever-changing morality.
You can't follow a line of questioning. You keep going off onto these tangents. Look, at the end of the day,
it's not a tangent.
You can believe whatever
it's not a tangent.
But the point is, people are always going.
No. You cannot believe where you want to believe. You cannot.
You are doing.
If you believe bestiality is wrong, you should not be in society. If you believe incest is okay, you should not be within the community. You should be excommunicated. These are things that there's some certain morality that should supersede the government. That should supersede something. The government should not.
The age of consent for you.
It's not the age of consent.
You should stay on topic here.
I'm staying on topic.
What you are doing is you are deflecting to other topics. You have still not directly said that you think it is a bad thing for an adult to marry a child. Like, you are still unable to say that. Now,
you haven't even defined child.
I have. My definition is anything under 18.
That's exactly what a child is. That's not even the definition of child. You're going off of your own definition.
Who cares?
Who cares?
Like, who cares? Yes. Why? If 18 is the established point, you are out of high school going to college. If that is the point where everyone has agreed you are an adult past this point, why argue against it?
Why argue? Because if the government decides to push the age of high school, if they try to lower it, if they said that you can vote at a different age, then your morality changes based off of the law. And I'm saying that you need to have a consistent morality that does not change with the government and that does not change with the people that live in your country. It has to supersede that. You can't just say because of high school, because of college, this is the set in stone age forever.
Okay,
Okay, now this is basically the point that I was making. Yeah, so this is exactly very well said by Sneako. Like, it is not set in stone by Moistcritikal just because, of college. He's basing his morality on things that are ever changing. They have changed throughout history. They're currently changing and will change throughout the future. The age of driving, okay, the age of drinking alcohol, the age of when someone leaves their parents' house, all these things are very relative to not only civilizations and times, but also individuals, right? And if you specify a certain thing, it's unjust for the people who are different. So if, let's say, if you specify something as like 18, right, and someone, right, they excel at it earlier, then they will not be able to reach their full potential. But if they excel at it later, then they will be seen as a failure in their earlier life. And this is exactly what happens in our school lives and universities, and this is a huge problem. A lot of people just develop differently. A lot of people are different. And a guy might reach his potential when he is 20. Someone might reach that same potential when he's 17. But coincidentally, the age that you need that intellect might be at 17 or at 20. Then that guy would just be way better and excel way more in that society, even though there should have been some kind of justice. And this is how these all problems arise, and Islam does try to resolve these problems, and throughout history it has tried to resolve these problems. Scholars, the way that they taught and the madrasa and the student relation was very different to how it is nowadays. It used to be in a way that everyone used to go with their own pace, with their potentials and capabilities. Not necessarily it was a line drawn on paper that at this age you should be this, you should at least have done this. And today we see it is the case. Like, at this age you should be earning, you should be married, and it causes a lot of tension on people, a lot of social pressure. And Moise does not realize that he is arguing for that. He's arguing for a depressive society if he reasons for morality in that way.
I want you, Sneako, to set an age in stone right now for the age of consent, age of marriage. What is that to you?
I told you that there is no age of marriage. It has to be based off maturity, and it has to be based off of whether it's going to be harmful, and it has to be based off the consent of the parents. It has to be healthy. If I want to marry a girl, I have to first ask her father.
Okay, good. So Sneako did say I have to see if it is puberty, like mature, and then if it is harmful. Very good. Sneako basically made a very valid point here. He should he had emphasized on that. Till now he did not emphasize on if it is harmful or not. He should emphasize on that, because we do have hadiths where we talk about not hurting the other individual even within marriage. Like, so if intercourse is harming your wife, then you wouldn't have intercourse, right? So all these things need to be looked at.
To ask her brother.
And the father's perfect. The father knows what's best for the child.
And I have to ask her mother, and the daughter has to consent. If all three parties are consenting, and then my family's consenting, that's fine. That's what a marriage should be based upon.
Okay. All that happens, and it's a 14-year-old. Now what?
If the 14-year-old is mature and I'm 16, say I went through puberty as
You're
well,
not 16,
and I'm
you're
17 or I'm 18. See, the problem with this is that you have a specific idea of where the age is. But if I'm 17 and I'm mature, and I meet a 14 or 15-year-old and I'm okay, I'm mature, my family's okay, I asked the daughter,
You're
I
not
asked the
17,
daughter's
you're in
father for the hand of marriage.
You're in your 20s.
I went over this already. I went over this already.
Does it change?
Your scenario earlier was if a 16 and a 21-year-old, both parties were consent, if the father was okay with it, the mother was okay with it, why not? What? Give me a reason why that's. Tell me a reason why that's wrong. Because you're
getting a child. One is not a child. That's the point. So the 14-year-old, all of those criteria we just checked. You're in your 20s.
The definition that we just agreed upon. That's not true. Child is somebody that is not physically mature yet. It has nothing to do with 18.
We agreed upon. We agreed upon 18.
You agreed. We didn't agree with that.
18.
That's not true. That's not true across the whole world.
Sensible people, even your own community has agreed upon 18 for the most part. So I've seen a lot of the tweets when you go on these tangents. Most people say it should be 18, and Sneako's arguing that parts of the world are different, so it gets muddy. But the agreed upon for the majority of people is 18.
That's not true.
So
that's just not true across the world.
So you see when you argue against that, why it looks so weird? Do you understand that?
Yeah, I understand because people have been brainwashed with this. Let me ask you this: people in Europe,
brainwashing is concerning.
Okay, are people? So the majority of Europe is 16. Is everybody in Europe who abides by that? Who abides by the law? Are they pedophiles?
Yeah, in my 100%, and in European society too.
Fine.
If you have someone in their 20s that is fucking and marrying a 16-year-old, they too are excommunicated.
No, not excommunicated. Are they pedophiles?
Yeah, I would say yes.
Okay, so the majority of people that follow the law in Europe are pedophiles according to Moistcritikal.
If they are an adult fucking an under 18-year-old, even if it's 16 legally, I would say yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And in America, the majority of the states, it's 16. Are those people who follow the law of the land, are they pedophiles for following so the majority,
keep saying the law of the land.
That's what it is. The majority of states, it's 16.
So I want you right now, Sneako, if you go to any of those states where it's 16 and you fuck a 16-year-old, it's statutory rape. It is still statutory rape. It doesn't apply. That's not what that means.
Okay, how that works. We went in circles. The Romeo and Juliet laws don't apply for most people. And even without that, even without the Romeo and Juliet laws, if it was 16 and all the countries that are 16, are those people pedophiles?
As I just said, yes.
Okay.
In those countries too.
Okay. But do you realize what you're saying? What you were saying,
those countries,
most people who follow, what you're saying, based off this logic, most people in the world are pedophiles if they follow the law.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. If the law is under 18, I would say yes.
Okay. So, but that's not the law because most of the world, as we established, most of the world is not 18. So you're saying if the majority.
So most of the world, even if they reason exactly the same way that Moistcritikal reasons and justifies his age of consent, even if the other countries or most of the world reasons the same way, they're pedophiles. Even though they have the same arguments, they're arguing that, well, my country has adopted this, my country is fine with this, and well, they can even make one up Moistcritikal on this. They can say most of the world has adopted this. You're the only odd one out, right? And according to Moistcritikal, he's still a pedophile for some weird reason.
Majority of the world follows the law and they exercise their rights. They do exactly what they're good citizens and they follow the law where it's 16. You are saying majority of the world contains pedophiles. Even if they don't even act upon it, even if they agree that, okay, one day maybe I can out of wedlock, I can fuck a 16-year-old.
Because those
just the thought.
But yes, if there is an adult, as I've said many times, if there is an adult, and I'm defining an adult as someone who is,
we know.
We'll go deeper. We'll make it even simpler. Your age. If there's someone that is your age and they are fucking a 16-year-old.
Why my age now? I thought it was 18.
I just gave a number because you were.
But you gave a number earlier. 18. You said 18.
Yeah, I was just trying to make it easier. 18. If there's an adult that is fucking a 16-year-old, even in a country where it says 16 is okay, then yes, absolutely. Now, in the case of the 18, 16-year-old, that's where Romeo and Juliet kicks in. But if it is someone in their 20s, in their 30s, fucking a 16-year-old, that is literally statutory rape in pretty much everywhere in the world.
Right. Based off your logic, you realize this, that if a 19-year-old has sex with a 17-year-old, they should go to jail. They're pedophiles.
That is Romeo and Juliet, unless it's an 18. Then yeah, wait till they're 18.
Okay, but a lot of states don't even have Romeo and Juliet. In Europe, they don't have that. The places, your Romeo and Juliet is an American thing. And in Europe, a lot of these places, if a 19-year-old has sex with a 17-year-old, your logic, they should go to jail. Is that true?
Yeah, I think it is absolutely going to be one of those things where there's an agreed upon age. If it's 18, it's 18.
So yes, a 19-year-old in a relationship with a 17-year-old should go to jail.
Well, no, okay. I guess, like I said, it will.
At this point, it's very obvious that Moist is trying to cater to it seems like he's trying to cater to the online audience. It's kind of getting pretty obvious that he's trying to cater to the online audience. So the online audience, obviously, they have this they have it's the West. His online audience is of the West, and they see as 18 being the rigid understanding of an adult, anyone who messages or contacts someone 17, 16, they should be canceled. So they have the cancel culture kind of thing, right? It seems like Moistcritikal or Penguin, he's trying to avoid being canceled. That's honestly what it seems like, because basically he's just saying, oh, either the Romeo and Juliet law or the strict age of 18. He's not arguing for anything other than that, right? He's like, he's not gonna, he is afraid to even say that in a 19-year-old with a 70-year-old. He's just afraid to say that, even though any rational person will see that from his own logic it shouldn't have a problem, right? But he is too scared to say that, because I genuinely believe that Moist does realize this. He does realize the flaw in his logic and the validity of the reasoning in Sneako's logic, but just seems like that Moist does not realize, does seem to realize that, but he does not want to cave in to that realization, because he knows he will get cancelled. And I do know that he got a lot of backlash, but I don't think he'll get cancelled because, well, he won't. He didn't say that much of a problematic thing. Rather, he actually catered to the left, and his audience does seem a bit more left leaning. So, Allahu Alam.
will all depend on where that is located. So to give an example, Call Me Carson and that, I think it was a 17-year-old, I think he was 19 and 17. Like that could be a high school relationship. And I don't remember where that took place, but the big problem there is apparently he was getting nudes. That's child porn. Like that's a huge issue. 19 and 17, that's only a 2-year age gap. So that is applicable under things like Romeo and Juliet. So even if it is under 18 in the place you come from, that's an extenuating circumstance. But that's not what we're talking about. You keep bringing it back down to reasonable places. But what you argue for is things like when you legally can drive, you can legally get married and have sex.
Yes, when you are physically mature, when you're ready to drive a car, you should be able to. There's a lot of people that have jobs that need to do things. So a lot of people aren't ready to drive cars. They're not physically, they're not mentally mature to drive a car. They shouldn't drive a car at 16. It should be based off maturity. The same thing has to do with sex. The reason I keep saying this is because you have these set in stone numbers. And if you were to lay the laws of the land, if we follow your laws, if we follow your criteria, a 19-year-old, a 17-year-old, he's consenting, she's consenting, the parents are happy, they're happy, they want to get married, they're ready to go, you're putting them in jail. That doesn't make any sense. Because
Juliet kicks in. Like I don't know what's hard to understand about that. Places where that doesn't exist, I guess I'm not too familiar with how those.
A lot of places they don't. A lot of places they don't. And this is why it's arbitrary. So where, and based off your standards, when is a Romeo and Juliet? How long can that extend?
Those are teenagers. A 17 and a 19-year-old, those are both teenagers.
Okay, now they're teenagers, but you just said 18 was an adult.
Yes, they are.
You see how the definitions keep changing?
They're in the same ballpark.
Over so far in this conversation.
Okay, that was really good. He got him. Sneako got him there. So you see how inconsistent he is. So what he said is that they're both teenagers. Like he's treating the 19-year-old as a young one now. Okay, he's not that old. That's not problematic. Okay, but 18 is an adult. So 18, they become an adult. But at 19, he's still a teenager. That is why Romeo and Juliet works. But at the same time, if someone is 21, they can marry a 18-year-old, but not a 17-year-old who is one day before their birthday. Like, make it make sense, bro. It doesn't. It's inconsistency, and it's not a universal law. It just shows that arbitrary lines are being drawn without any valid reasoning.
You changed it so many times. You said 18's an adult, and then you said, listen, because you did. I heard you double up a couple times.
I know what you're going to harp on here.
No, you did. You said 18's an adult, and then you said adults like you, because you think 25 is an adult now. Because that's when you're. Why? So why is it? Let me ask you. Why is it not 20? Why is it not 25?
It's because that's not what was established. Like
no, I'm asking you because you believe in personal beliefs. I believe in some. My morality comes from the Quran. You believe in personal beliefs. Why is it not 25? 25 is when the frontal cortex is fully developed. That's when you're done maturing.
I couldn't tell you why it's not 25. I have no clue. I don't know why the drinking age is 21. I don't know. But they are agreed upon rules.
They're agreed upon rules, just like the drinking age, just like the voting age. They're agreed upon rules, and a lot of them don't make any sense. Why is drinking 21?
But I do think 18 does. There is a good reason for it. You are out of high school. You are going to live on your own. You're going to college. I think that is a good reason.
Yeah, maybe in the 1980s, but nowadays people don't leave the house until 24, 25, until they're my age. A lot of people don't. People are not financially ready. People are still immature. There's 18-year-olds I know that are more mature than people my age, and there's 25-year-olds that are more immature than 18-year-olds. It's arbitrary now. It depends on personal experience. It depends on individual maturity.
But there needs to be something defined in your rule here.
And I'm saying there is something defined. I'm saying there is.
14.
Here, he just conceded at this point. So he basically said that there has to be something defined. When you say that, you are basically conceding that, okay, you're making valid arguments, but so things just don't become a chaos, okay? And pedophiles don't run around and having intercourse with everyone. There's something needs to be defined. That's basically what Moisture is arguing here, rather than he's saying that no, your arguments are invalid and here's why. He's just saying there just needs to be something defined. He's not saying his arguments are wrong. I think at this point he kind of conceded, but obviously he won't say it because obviously he'll get cancelled and he doesn't want that.
14-year-old, in your definition, could literally marry an adult. That's a problem. In your world, a 14-year-old can marry an adult.
Yeah, in my world, 2 14-year-olds can be adults. I'm telling you, the only
that's weird.
2 14-year-olds. You don't think that 2 14-year-olds can be married?
No, absolutely not. No, under no circumstances do I think 2 14-year-olds can marry.
Can 2 16-year-olds?
Let alone a 14 and a 20-year-old or whatever.
Okay, can 2 16-year-olds be married?
No, I don't think.
Why is it wrong if so a 16-year-old, because the age of consent is across the world, so many places 16, if they can go have frivolous sex with a lot of people, if they can go fuck around, if they can do deviant things, if they can change their gender, why can they not get married? Sex change, like Christopher Mr. Beast, these people can take hormone blockers. Listen, you're not listening. This is the point. You can take hormone blockers, you can take puberty blockers, okay, when you're a child. When you're 16, you can go change your gender, but you can't get married? Why is that?
That's I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty obvious question.
No, it's not. It's not. So if you cut your penis off, like Christopher Mr. Beast, if you cut your penis off, that is a life-altering decision. You can't glue it back on. You can get divorced if you get married. This is a commitment that you're taking. A child, based off the liberal point of view that you believe in, they can have gender surgery. They can change forever. He lagged out.
So he lagged out, and then I got an ad coincidentally, I guess. So Sneako is making a very good point. Like, he's showing consistency in the worldview of Moistcritikal. He's showing that in his liberal worldview there are huge inconsistency. The inconsistency is that someone can go and change his gender. First, I think he should have not jumped to gender transition this early. He should have pointed out, because he was talking about marriage, he should have pointed out, why can 2 16-year-olds have sex? Okay, they can literally have intercourse with each other, right? But not get married. Why is that? Okay, why is that? It's weird. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, intercourse is also a life-altering decision. Okay, a lot of 16-year-olds will get pregnant due to this intercourse. That's why you will say, have safe sex. At 16 years old, you should have safe sex, but not get married. Like, how many 16-year-old, how many 16-year-old women's life have been destroyed because they got pregnant at that age, when the society is not structured to accommodate for that early age pregnancy. And that is also another flaw in this Western society, because it does not accommodate for that kind of childbirth. I don't know how to specifically word it, but it just doesn't. But how in the world is Moistcritikal arguing for this? So Sneako, I would say, should have dig deeper and should have said that why can 2 16-year-olds have sex according to your liberal worldview but not get married? I don't know if he does it later on. If he does it, good. And then he should have made the point about, why can a 16-year-old transition, cut his penis off, but not get married? It's weird. It's inconsistent. It doesn't make sense. And Moistcritikal is not able to answer. It's a very basic tactic of someone who doesn't know how to debate, who doesn't know how to argue, who doesn't know why he believes what he believes. When he doesn't know what arguments are, they basically resort to 2 things. It's obvious. It's very self-explanatory. It is obvious. It's any intelligent person will realize why this is the case. They will say stuff like that, or they will say, I think I've proven my point, when they haven't. They didn't even bring any points to prove their point. So yeah, and this is basically what Moish is doing. He just said it, something around those lines. So let's move on.
Therapy, can they change the gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting.
Okay, so as long as everyone,
parents are okay with it and you're okay with it, I think that's totally a family decision.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Okay,
you
so
see,
a child
the
can cut the
problem.
penis off.
Even look at how he laughed. Look at how he laughed. Okay, wait, hold on. Let me just do this. Look at Sneako's smirk. Man. Look.
Take hormone blockers and change gender if they're a child.
Look.
I think that's totally
He's
fine as long as
smiling.
everyone
He
is
realized that Moist has made an error and Moist has messed up. He realizes that, and he's just smirking. He knows that he messed up, and he's smirking there. He's like, oh, you stupid man. And he laughs. And honestly, it's laughable what he's saying. So two 16-year-old can have sex, they can fall in love, they can have sex, and then after having sex, one of them can cut their penis off, while one of them can cut their breast off. That's fine. But that them two getting married, oh no, man. What in the world, bro? That's so weird. No, no, marriage, no, bro, no, no. It's just demonizing marriage. That's all this is. They're just demonizing marriage, and it's just stupid. It's just stupid, and it doesn't work. Never has worked, and never will work. Okay, yeah. So let's move on from this.
Okay, so as long as everyone
parents are okay with it and you're okay with it, I think that's totally a decision to make. Yeah.
Okay, so a child can cut their penis off and take hormone blockers and change their biology forever, but they can't get married?
Well, that's a decision that now extends beyond the family because now you're bringing in a different party. So if you have someone that's your age coming and saying, I want to marry that child, I don't think that can happen under any circumstance.
So, but it's still a personal decision. You're still deciding.
It's
But anyway,
no, because there's
take the other party out of the
decision
equation. It's a personal
now.
decision. If I'm 16 and I personally want to marry this girl, she's beautiful, she's 21 years old, her family wants to do it, my family wants to do it. You're saying I can't do that. We're both consenting. I'm ready to go. I'm physically mature, but I'm not allowed to marry because Moy says that woman's a pedophile. What if then the next day I leave it, I'm depressed, I want to cut my penis off? I can go right into the clinic, snip it off, and start taking HRT like Chris Tyson. That's a society that makes sense to you?
It is. I believe everyone has complete. Yep, I believe everyone has the right to do with their body what they want to do.
Okay. Yeah, this is basically what I was saying as well. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. But obviously, Moist is trying to cater to a type of audience, right? And he's just okay with catering those audience. He knows that he will get cancelled. He knows that he will get cancelled. The millions of dollars that he's making, he will not be able to make that. He knows that will happen. So he's not going to say it. And that's a problem for him. And this is the absurdity that arises. That's the thing, that Sneako accepted Islam, and look how logically consistent he became, right? And the liberal on the left, you can just see what happened to him in this debate.
Okay, but so everyone has the right to do with their body, but not when it comes to a sacred marriage where they have kids, where they have society. But that is your body. Okay, you're still bringing in the doctor to use his scissors to snip off your penis.
He's not there for the rest of your life. He's not constantly there at your fucking house monitoring you.
You don't need to be there. You're not glued to your wife. You're not there like Siamese twins.
You are a 16-year-old. You are entirely reliant on this adult that you've now brought in.
No, you're not. You can tell parents, maybe I'm making my own money. I'm not relying. If I'm 16 and I marry a 21-year-old and I'm making a lot of money, I'm doing well, I'm independent, I'm not relying upon her. Not only that, the person that you just put through transgender therapy, now they need to go to therapy once a week. Now they need to go to the pharmacist once a week. Look how many people are involved now. Now they're going to therapy groups. Now they're online. They're making YouTube videos. They're in a Mr. Beast challenge. This person is relying on so many people, and they also have. You're cutting out again.
I think this is like very obvious what happened here. I think this is good enough. I think we have watched enough to review this. Man, this was crazy. Really good discussion. Sneako should have, few things that he could have made better, right? Few things that I would say that Sneako could have worded better, could have, even though he emphasized on them more. Okay, right? But he didn't. That's fine. Okay, it's not necessarily the case that in the flow of the debate, in the heat of the debate, any such thing happens. Okay, so it's understandable in a sense. So just give me a second. Just give me a second. Okay, guys, I need to sign up. Sorry for that. There was some error. I was trying to share the link for the stream. There seemed to be an error. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so yeah. So yeah, can you guys hear me? I believe so. You guys can. Okay, so the link is available. I think we have done a good job at reviewing this debate, and inshallah ta'ala, we will be going back at it. Right. So please, if you guys want to discuss this, make sure to join the that you guys have. Make sure to join. If there's any non-Muslim, make sure to join, and we can discuss anything that you guys want. So the stream is open for this. There seems to be some Wi-Fi issue on my end, so just hold on to your horses and try to join. And else, as soon as my Wi-Fi issues are fixed, then inshallah I'll take you guys on the stream. I think they're good right now, so let me just check here. Yeah, they seem to be fixed for now. So yeah, feel free to join, guys. It's fine if you guys want to speak in Urdu. It's fine if you guys want to speak in English. We can do both languages. And walaikum assalam, Jad bhai. How are you doing? Kaise hain bhai? So I think I'm gonna switch to Urdu now. More comfortable, I guess. ठीक है. Assalamualaikum, Jad bhai. and a lot of my audience is now very much Hindi Urdu inclined, so they prefer Hindi and Urdu. वालेकुम अस्सलाम इताद भाई, कैसे हैं? अच्छा भाई, लिंक चल रही है, सब ये बता दें, लिंक गुड है। लिंक तो मैंने लगा दी है, लिंक पिन भी हो गई है, आप लोग बिल्कुल ज्वाइन करें इंशाल्लाह ताला। इसको डिस्कशन को कैरी ऑन करेंगे। मैं वेट करता हूँ आज लिंक के लिए। पिछली दफ़ा मैंने टाइम नहीं था मेरे पास, तो मैं नहीं कर पाया था। कैसर भाई ट्विटर पे बहुत आते हैं, कैसर भाई अभी भी आए हैं। कैसर भाई अगर यूट्यूब पे आ रहे हैं अपने, तो भाई मैं उनको साथ देखता हूँ। यूट्यूब पे है क्या अभी? बस कैसर भाई का ऐसा कुछ होना चाहिए कि जब वो आए तो एक साथ आए, मतलब यूट्यूब और ट्विटर एक साथ हो। हाँ इत्याद डाल चुकी है मैंने अपनी स्ट्रीम डाल चुकी है उधर। अभी यार, अभी कोई बरज़क नाम का कोई ड्रामा या कोई मूवी आई है, आ रही है या आ गई है, उस पे एक क्या बोलते हैं पाकिस्तानी एक्ट्रेस है, मुझे नहीं पता, अल्लाह आलम, मुझे इतना नहीं पता। तो उस पर बहुत वीडियोस बन रही है, उसका भी देखते हैं यार, क्या चीज़ क्या से सुना है उसमें होमोसेक्सुअलिटी वगैरह। और ऑब्वियसली मतलब हमें कोई इशू नहीं होता, लेकिन बरज़क का जिक्र है, प्लस पाकिस्तानी एक्टर है, तो मतलब ये थोड़ा है ना, पाकिस्तान इस्लाम से कनेक्टेड करके दिखाना चाहें। तो ऑब्वियसली जब ये करके दिखा रहे हैं, फिर उसमें होमोसेक्सुअलिटी, बेहयाई और ये सब लाएंगे, तो ऑब्वियसली हमारे सेंटिमेंट्स को इशू होंगे यार। मतलब नहीं इस्तेमाल करो भाई हमारा कॉन्सेप्ट, हमारा ट्रेडिशन अपनी बेहयाई के लिए, ठीक है। इतनी सिंपल सी बात, सिंपल सा कॉन्सेप्ट है। चलिए स्क्रॉल ऊपर करते हैं, देखते हैं क्या क्या बोला है भाइयों ने। बहुत सारे लोगों ने सलाम किया, वालेकुम अस्सलाम सबको, ठीक है, कैसे हैं सब? आई रियली होप सब बेहतरीन होंगे, आई रियली होप सब अच्छे होंगे इंशाल्लाह ताला। तो फिर और क्या था? राइट। तो भाई और क्या चल रहा है? मुझे किसी कहीं से पता चला कि भाई, मुझे कहीं से पता चला कि वो जो है, वो जो एक बंदा है, क्या नाम है उसका, लेजी, उसने कंटिजेंसी आर्ग्यूमेंट या कौन सी कलाम कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्ग्यूमेंट के खिलाफ वीडियो बनाई है, तो उसको देखते हैं। जब तक कोई हमें स्ट्रीम पे नहीं आते, उसको देखते हैं। जैसे ही कोई आएगा, जो भी भाई सलाम कर रहे हैं, वालेकुम अस्सलाम सबको, ठीक है। जैसे ही कोई स्ट्रीम पे आएगा तो उसको लेंगे, बात करेंगे, डिस्कशन करेंगे, ठीक है। एवरीवन फील फ्री टू जॉइन, डिस्कस एनीथिंग। अभी जो मैंने डिबेट रिव्यू किया है, उसको मैं ऑब्वियसली जो डिबेट किया है, मैं उसकी क्लिप करके उसको मैं यूट्यूब एज अ वीडियो भी लगाऊंगा। सो होपफुली दैट विल बी मोर बेनिफिशियल टू एवरीवन, राइट। तो और देखते हैं क्या था, राइट। चलो इसकी वीडियो लगाते हैं, ये वाली थी, ये वाली थी। तो यहाँ से लगाते हैं। एक्चुअली डिबंक करना चाह रहा है आर्ग्यूमेंट्स को, कलाम कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्ग्यूमेंट को डिबंक करेंगे। लेजी भाई जो फिलोसफी, लॉजिक सबका बेड़ा गर्क कर दिया था उन्होंने डिस्कशन में, उसको डिबंक करेंगे। लेट्स सी इट्स फन, इट्स फन। देखते हैं क्या करते हैं। लाइक ऑनेस्टली अगर अच्छा होगा तो भी मैं कंटिन्यू करूंगा, वरना मेरा टाइम नहीं है भाई। एक फजूल तरीन अगर हुआ तो मैं बिल्कुल नहीं करूँगा, ठीक है। सो लेट्स सी, चलो देखते हैं भाई इसी कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्ग्यूमेंट। हाँ चलो।
हमारे आज के टॉपिक पे कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्गुमेंट्स। कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्गुमेंट्स कोई एक आर्गुमेंट नहीं है, पहली बात तो इसको थोड़ा सा कर देते हैं एड्रेस। कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्गुमेंट्स ये आता कहाँ से
अरे तो मैंने जैसी बनाई थी वीडियो, तो बिल्कुल वैसी बनाना चाह रहे हैं। अच्छा पहले कॉस्मोस का
कॉस्मोलॉजिकल
मतलब
आर्गुमेंट
बताएगा
मतलब
भाई,
कॉस्मोस
अगर मेरे से
कॉस्मोस का
कॉपी
मतलब
करना था तो पूछ लेते, मैं ही आगे पढ़ा देता। हाँ,
कॉस्मोस का मतलब मालूम है किसी को? कॉस्मोस का सिंपल सा मतलब होता है जो भी आप ये मान लो, ये दुनिया है पूरी बहुत ही बड़ी, ठीक है। इसके अंदर यहाँ पे अर्थ है इतना छोटा सा, ये अपना सोलर सिस्टम है, ठीक है। और ये अपनी बाकी गैलेक्सीज वगैरह हैं आजू बाजू में घूम रही हैं बहुत सारी। तो ये जो बाहर का जो चीज है एवरीथिंग, अच्छा चलो एक सेकंड मान लेते हैं कि ये तुम्हारा यूनिवर्स है टोटल का, ठीक है। तो ये कॉस्मोस नहीं हुआ, दिस इज यूनिवर्स। ये जो भी है, कोई मत करना यूनिवर्स। यूनिवर्स, ठीक है? इसको यूनिवर्स मान के चलो अभी के लिए। तो कॉस्मोस क्या होगा? कॉस्मोस अगर ऐसे हज़ारों यूनिवर्स भी हुए ना आगे जाके कि ये यूनिवर्स इसको यूनिवर्स 1 मान लेते हैं, ऐसे यूनिवर्स 2, यूनिवर्स 3, यूनिवर्स 4, यूनिवर्स 5 ये सब का जो ग्रुप होगा मिला के चाहे जितने भी यूनिवर्स हैं, दिस इज़ कॉल्ड कॉस्मोस, ठीक है? इसको हम कॉस्मोस बोलेंगे। आप लोग जब सुनते होंगे ना कि कॉस्मिक वेव्स आपके आपके जो कहते हैं मंदिरों में ऊपर से आ रही है कॉस्मिक वेव, पकड़ रही है कॉस्मिक वेव और एंटीना में हो रहा है, वहाँ पे ऐसा हो रहा है, पता नहीं क्या-क्या कॉस्मिक वेव के नाम पे कुछ भी करते रहते हैं लोग, कॉस्मिक गेमर, कॉस्मिक एनर्जी आ रही है, सब लोग कहते हैं यहाँ से पकड़ लेता हूँ कॉस्मिक एनर्जी, वहाँ पे घुसा देता हूँ कॉस्मिक एनर्जी। तो ये होता है कॉस्मोस, ठीक है? कॉस्मोस का सिंपल सा मतलब है एवरीथिंग आउटसाइड या फिर जो भी है वो इसमें, वो मान के चलो अभी के लिए। इससे हम आगे बढ़ेंगे। कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्गुमेंट्स क्या होती है? कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्गुमेंट्स आपको हमेशा
तो जो भी है नहीं
एक
होता,
चीज़ की तरफ पॉइंट आउट करेंगी। हमेशा
जो भी
कॉस्मोलॉजिकल
है
आर्गुमेंट्स आपका
नहीं होता कॉस्मोस, मतलब कि जो भी है ऑब्वियसली जब आर्ग्यूमेंट प्रेजेंट कर रहे हो तो जिस तरह से आर्ग्यूमेंट ने डिफाइन किया है उस तरह से प्रेजेंट की जाती है। तो कॉस्मोलॉजी कॉस्मोस में जो भी है नहीं डिफाइन करेंगे, सही है। जबकि हाँ ठीक है, कुछ कहीं कहीं कर सकते हैं लेकिन आर्ग्यूमेंट में इस तरह से डिफाइन नहीं होगा। कॉस्मोस जो भी है सिवा अल्लाह, अल्लाह के सिवा जो भी है वो कॉस्मोस में हम डिफाइन करते हैं, आलम में वो हम लाते हैं, ठीक है। और सिर्फ मैं नहीं करते, क्रिश्चियंस भी यही करता है। सो विलियम लेन क्रेग ने स्पेस टाइम मैटर एंड एवरीथिंग विद इन इट डिफाइन किया हुआ है इसको, ठीक है। तो गॉड हर चीज़ अगर हम बोलेंगे तो उसमें ऑब्वियसली अल्लाह सुब्हानहू तआला भी आएंगे, लेकिन हम इस तरह कॉस्मोस को डिफाइन नहीं करते। तो इधर एक गलती है इसकी, तो आगे बढ़ते हैं। लेकिन
बेस होगा एवरी टाइम कॉज़ एंड इफेक्ट, ठीक है? ये होगा आपके कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्गुमेंट्स का बेसिस। यानी आपकी जितनी भी कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्गुमेंट्स हैं इस प्रिंसिपल पे टिकी रहेंगी। अब चाहे वो थोड़े दिन पहले मैंने डिबेट की थी से उसका नाम था कंटिजेंसी आर्गुमेंट, तो कंटिजेंसी आर्गुमेंट भी इसी के ऊपर बेस करती है, इसी इफेक्ट के कॉज़ एंड इफेक्ट के प्रिंसिपल के ऊपर। और कलाम कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्गुमेंट जो है जिसके ऊपर मैंने थोड़ी देर वो भी इसी के ऊपर डिपेंड करती है, कॉज़ एंड इफेक्ट के ऊपर, ठीक है? तो जिसको आर्य समाज वाले कहते हैं, मैं आर्य समाज वाले यूनानिमस नहीं कहते, मैंने सुना है ऐसे कहीं पे किसी की वीडियो के अंदर कि वो कहते थे इसको कर्ता और कर्म का सिद्धांत। तो ये कर्ता हो गया, ठीक है? मुझे पता नहीं हिंदी में कैसे आई होप ऐसे लिखते होंगे कर्ता, ये तो कर्ता बन गया। तो ठीक है मैंने लिखा। एनीवेज़ तो ये कर्ता हो गया, इसको मैं वैसे लिखता हूँ, ठीक है? और ये हो गया कर्म। तो ये जो चीज़ें हैं ये बेसिक है, इसको हम लोग सेट कर लेते हैं, उसके बाद हम आगे बढ़ेंगे यहाँ से। हाँ, ऐसा लिखते हैं, ये सही लिखा है मैंने, कर्ता और कार्य, सॉरी कार्य, कर्म नहीं कार्य, माय बैड, दैट वाज़ टोटली माय बैड। तो कर्ता और कार्य का ये रिलेशन बन गया यहाँ पे। ओके, लास्ट हिंदी कब सीखी थी मैं? 6 7 में मैंने आपकी बात नहीं पढ़ी थी। तो अब हम इससे आगे बढ़ेंगे कि कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्गुमेंट्स का मैंने आपको बेस समझा दिया कि क्या होता है। कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्गुमेंट्स में मल्टीपल आर्गुमेंट्स आते हैं, कंटीजेंसी आर्गुमेंट, कलाम कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्गुमेंट, उसके बाद में अलग-अलग प्रकार की आर्गुमेंट्स आएंगी काफ़ी सारी। अब हम इसकी जो है शुरुआत करेंगे उससे पहले थोड़े बहुत कमेंट्स आए हैं। कॉस्मोस, डायमेंशन और क्वांटम सब बिल्कुल डिफरेंस बिटवीन रिलीजियस गॉड एंड रियल गॉड। अच्छा, तो इसका मतलब क्या बनता है ना, ये आपको कहाँ कितनी आइडिया कितना पुराना है कि आप कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्गुमेंट्स को यूज़ करके ईश्वर को सिद्ध कर दो। पहले हम इसके मकसद पे आ जाते हैं, फिर इसके बात करेंगे कितना पुराना है। मकसद क्या है इसका? तो ये जो कॉस्मोस है ना, ये कॉस्मोस इसको आप एक इफेक्ट ग्रांट करके चलोगे, ठीक है? जो ये आर्गुमेंट जितनी भी होती है इसमें कॉस्मोस को एक इफेक्ट बोला जाता है। हिंदी में बोले तो जो उन्होंने लिखा है कार्य शायद से ना, तो कार्य उन्होंने ऐसा लिखा था, इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग। तो ये उन्होंने ऐसा लिखा था कार्य, तो हम इसे कार्य मान के चलते हैं। तो कॉस्मोस एक इफेक्ट है और जैसा कि हमने पहले एस्टैब्लिश कर लिया है कि हर एक इफेक्ट का एक कॉज होना जरूरी है, तो हम ये मानेंगे कि इस कॉस्मोस से पहले भी कुछ होना चाहिए, यानी कि इस कॉस्मोस को कॉज करने वाला उसको भी हम एक्स वाई जेड बोल देते हैं। बस आपको ये एस्टैब्लिश करने तक ये आर्गुमेंट्स लेके आती है। तो कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्गुमेंट्स आपको यूनिवर्स या फिर कॉस्मोस के पीछे के रीजन को एस्टैब्लिश करने तक सहायता करती हैं आपकी। इसके आगे आपने रखा अपना देखो, इसको जैसे एट्रिब्यूट्स देने हैं इसको, तो ये इसका बेसिक है। अब हम आते हैं कि इंडिविजुअल आर्गुमेंट्स फायदा जो सकते हैं, उसके कम से कम है ही कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्गुमेंट्स। तो जबकि हमने बेसिक्स को एकदम माइक को सही से लगा देते हैं। अब जबकि हमने बेसिक्स को एकदम सेट बाद में वो गॉड, अब हम आगे बढ़ेंगे इससे। अभी तक किसी को क्वेश्चन आता है तो वो पूछ।
अच्छा, तो इसने पहले तो एक चीज़ बोली भाई कि कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्ग्यूमेंट कॉज एंड इफेक्ट वाली आर्ग्यूमेंट कंटिजेंसी और कलाम वाली होती है। नहीं होती। कलाम है कॉज एंड इफेक्ट वाली आर्ग्यूमेंट। जो कंटिजेंसी आर्ग्यूमेंट है वो कंटिजेंसी की आर्ग्यूमेंट है, वो कॉज एंड इफेक्ट की आर्ग्यूमेंट नहीं है। वो ये नहीं आर्ग्यू कर रही कॉज है और इफेक्ट है तो है क्या बोलते हैं गॉड की एग्जिस्टेंस, नहीं। वो बोलिए कंटिजेंट चीज़ एग्जिस्ट करती है तो एक नेसेसरी बीइंग एग्जिस्ट करेगा, ठीक है। कॉज एंड इफेक्ट की बात नहीं कर रही। कॉज एंड इफेक्ट होगा जो यूनिवर्स में होगा, ठीक है, वो लेकिन बात ही नहीं कर रहे। वो एक प्रिंसिपल्स, एक लॉजिकल और आइडियल प्रिंसिपल्स की बुनियाद पर आर्ग्यू कर रहे हैं। इब्न सीना जो बेसिकली मेन फाउंडर है कंटीजेंसी आर्ग्यूमेंट का, उसने खुद अपनी आर्ग्यूमेंट में बोला हुआ है कि भाई मतलब उसके वो खुद यही आर्ग्यू करता है कि जो एरिस्टोटल की फर्स्ट मूवर आर्ग्यूमेंट है, ठीक है, वो उससे बेहतर है ये वाली आर्ग्यूमेंट, क्योंकि वो जो आर्ग्यूमेंट है वो कॉस्मोस को लेकर चलती है। वो यही कॉज एंड इफेक्ट दुनिया में देखती है, यूनिवर्स में देखती है, लेकिन उसकी आर्ग्यूमेंट की जरूरत नहीं है। कोई अंधा बंदा जिसको या कोई यूनिवर्स किसी ने एक्सपीरियंस ही नहीं किए हो, वो भी गॉड को प्रूव कर सकता है बेस्ड ऑन दी कंटीजेंसी आर्ग्यूमेंट, प्रिंसिपल्स की बुनियाद पर, कि या तो कोई वजूद होगा या तीन तरह के चीजें एग्जिस्ट कर सकती हैं, या तीन तरह की एग्जिस्टेंसेस होती हैं। एक इम्पॉसिबल एग्जिस्टेंस, नेसेसरी एग्जिस्टेंस और कंटीजेंट एग्जिस्टेंस या पॉसिबल एग्जिस्टेंस। तो ये प्रिंसिपल्स हैं, इनसे आप गॉड आर्ग्यू कर सकते हो कि आप बोलोगे भाई या तो कोई चीज़ इम्पॉसिबल एग्जिस्टेंस होगी, या तो नेसेसरी होगी, या तो पॉसिबल होगी। इम्पॉसिबल एग्जिस्टेंस हो ही नहीं सकती, क्यों? इम्पॉसिबल है। तो भाई या तो पॉसिबल होगी या तो नेसेसरी होगी। अगर नेसेसरी है तो भाई गॉड साबित हो गया। अगर पॉसिबल है तो या मतलब कंटिजेंट है तो कंटिजेंट के लिए नेसेसरी जरूरी है, तो नेसेसरी साबित हो गया। कुछ भी ले लो, नेसेसरी साबित हो रहा है, ठीक है। तो ये आर्ग्यू कर रहे होते हैं, उसके लिए कॉज एंड इफेक्ट जरूरत नहीं होती।
पूछ सकता है।
तो इसको नहीं पता, इसको आर्ग्यूमेंट नहीं पता उसको फ़र्क नहीं पता, कंटीजेंसी और कलाम आर्गुमेंट में फ़र्क नहीं पता। अगर ये बोल रहा है कॉज एंड इफेक्ट है दोनों में, तो ये यहाँ ही ब्लंडर है। चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं।
XYZ equals to God।
और ब्लंडर्स मारेगा तो मैं पूरी वीडियो इग्नोर कर दूंगा, ये भाई नॉट वर्थ आवर टाइम।
अभी नहीं, बाद में। वो गॉड कैसे है, गॉड का मतलब भी काम करते हैं, गॉड को डिफाइन कर लेते हैं। क्लासिकल गॉड को डिफाइन कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे दोस्तों, एकदम क्लासिकल गॉड को एक काम करते हैं, हाँ, ऊपर डिफाइन कर देते हैं गॉड को। तो गॉड इक्वल्स टू ऑल पावरफुल, ठीक है, प्लस ऑल नोइंग, और एक और प्लस यहाँ पे कर देते हैं हम लोग, ऑल गुड, एक और प्लस मार देते हैं, क्रिएटर ऑफ एवरीथिंग, ठीक है, सॉरी, क्रिएटर ऑफ एवरीथिंग। तो हमने डिफाइन कर दिया यहाँ पे गॉड को। अभी XYZ गॉड कैसे है ये क्लियर नहीं है, ठीक है, तो इसलिए हम कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्गुमेंट्स आपको वहाँ तक लेके भी नहीं जाती है कि वो XYZ गॉड है कि नहीं है, वो आपको खुद ही अपने खुद के तर्क लगाने पड़ेंगे कैसे है। एरिस्टोटल लर्न फ्रॉम ब्राह्मण्स, गुड। लिखने के लिए क्या यूज करोगे, लिखने के लिए मेरे पास एक पेन है, उसको यूज करो। हाउ डू यू नो अबाउट गॉड्स एट्रिब्यूट्स, नहीं, हमें सिर्फ ये सेटिंग एट्रिब्यूट अभी फिलहाल के लिए। सो एथीस्ट्स नाउ बिलीव इन गॉड, नहीं। एथीस्ट एरिस्टोटल आल्सो सेड ज्यूज आर डिसेंडेंट्स ऑफ ब्राह्मण्स, मैंने नहीं पढ़ा इसके बारे में, अगर कुछ बोला हुआ तो। मल्टीवर्स ऑफ शियापा, शियापा क्या है ये? भाई मैं जीसस को कॉन मैन एंड कर्ल लीडर से ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं मानता। अबाउट सेम व्हाट मोहम्मद एंड हिंदुइज्म के गॉड्स को मैं मानता हूँ। ओके, वेरी गुड फॉर यू। तो आपके लिए भी है ये स्ट्रीम, सबके लिए है। ठीक है, मैं नोट कर रहा हूँ सब।
नोट कर रहा
आपका
हूँ।
जो ग्रीक फिलोसोफर था, वहाँ से आपको मिड इवल टाइम्स का, मिड इवल नहीं बोलिए, कौन सा टाइम पीरियड हुआ आपका, मतलब वैसे
मेडिवल
पोस्ट मोहम्मद, आफ्टर आफ्टर
मेडिवल भाई, इसको मेडिवल बना दिया। चलो क्लासिकल, क्लासिकल पीरियड बोलते हैं इसको, क्लासिकल होता है, सही है।
400 ईयर्स आफ्टर मोहम्मद, उस टाइम का जो एरा हो गया आपका, यानी कि अच्छा थॉमस एक्वाइनस ने तो इसको, आई थिंक थॉमस वाज इन 11th सेंचुरी, ठीक है, तो 11th सेंचुरी के अंदर आपको थॉमस एक्वाइनस मिल जाता है अपने पहली उसकी 4 आर्गुमेंट्स है
What?
बेस में से, वो चारों के चार कॉस्मोलॉजिकल है, ठीक
क्या
है, तो 11th सेंचुरी आपको मिल जाएगा।
थॉमस एक्वाइनस 11th सेंचुरी में कब से हो गया? ओ भाई, ओ भाई।
उसके बाद में आपको अरेबिया के अंदर मिल जाएंगे, लाइक आई थिंक सो, कौन सी सेंचुरी
नहीं
में थे,
भाई, गूगल कर लेते।
आई थिंक ये भी अराउंड 10th सेंचुरी के
ओ
ही
माय
थे, काम
गॉड।
ठीक है, ये 10th सेंचुरी में आपको
क्या?
मिल जाएंगे गजाली वगैरह, तो इन्होंने भी, आई एम नॉट श्योर, ठीक है,
नहीं
इतनी
भाई,
चीज नहीं है कि कहां से आई कहां से नहीं
मैं
आई।
नहीं देख रहा, मैं नहीं देख रहा, बस टाइम, टाइम नहीं है भाई इसको देखने का। क्या फजूल तरीन यार, वल्लाही। क्या? गूगल कर ले यार, बंदा, एक बंदा गूगल कर ले। सबर, लेट मी गूगल, मैं गूगल करता हूँ। बाय द वे, थॉमस एक्वाइनस जो इमाम गजाली के बाद था, ठीक है, थॉमस एक्वाइनस इमाम गजाली के बाद था। थॉमस एक्वाइनस को गूगल एक्वाइनस, थॉमस एक्वाइनस विच सेंचुरी, ये देख लो, सबर करा। थॉमस एक्वाइनस विच सेंचुरी में लिखा है, ठीक है। ओह माय गॉड यार, किस बंद, भाई मैं नहीं, पहले ऐसी सीरियस लेता था नहीं, लेकिन ये देख लो क्या है, 13th सेंचुरी, सही है, 1225 से 1274, 13th सेंचुरी। ये दिखा दो ना, सब स्क्रीन नहीं दिख रही आप लोगों को, अब दिख जाएगी स्क्रीन, अच्छे से दिखाता है आप लोगों को, देखो 13th सेंचुरी यार, 13th सेंचुरी सीरियसली। और ये इमाम गजाली का भी देख लेते हैं अभी। इमाम गजाली 10th नहीं है, 12th होंगे ना वो, तो फिर वो 11th और 12th इमाम गजाली होंगे। अल गजाली, अल गजाली, अल गजाली भी 12th सेंचुरी है, 12th सेंचुरी के अल गजाली हैं, 13th सेंचुरी के थॉमस एक्वाइनस है, ठीक है। और ये इसने क्या बोला है, इसने बोला 11th और 10th सेंचुरी, बिल्कुल ही फालतू, नो बेस, बेसलेस, किसके साथ, किस किस यार, नहीं भाई, आई डोंट हैव टाइम फॉर दिस। मैंने बोला था अगर फजूल बातें करेगा तो मैं सीरियस नहीं लूंगा, नहीं भाई बहुत फजूल, लाइक अनपढ़ है बंदा, बंदा अनपढ़ है, रिसर्च कर लेता है, एटलीस्ट गूगल कर लेता, गूगल करने में क्या जा रहा है, गूगल करने में क्या जा रहा है, कसम से। ना ही पता है कि भाई एरिस्टोटल के वाले पीरियड को क्या बोलते हैं, ना ही पता है थॉमस एक्वाइनस का क्या पीरियड था, ना ही पता है अल गजाली का पीरियड था। अब और पता नहीं कितने कितने ब्लेंडर्स मारेगा उसको, मैं ऑब्वियसली अब इग्नोर करूंगा यार, फजूल, मतलब क्यों टाइम दूं इसको मैं, ठीक है। रिमूव भाई, रिमूव नहीं चाहिए, थैंक यू भाई, थैंक यू। तो गाइज, अगर आप लोगों को कोई क्वेश्चंस है, डिबेट करना है किसी को, प्लीज मोर देन वेलकम। अब तो सारे हिंदू सब भागते हैं बाय द वे, सही है, सब हिंदू सब भागते हैं, नहीं करते डिबेट, नहीं आते। क्यों नहीं आते, उनको पता है कि भाई घूम जाएंगे, उनको पता है। मैं सोच रहा हूँ थोड़ा है ना, इसलिए थोड़ा स्क्रिप्चरल पोजीशन, ठीक है, पोजीशन अडॉप्ट करूँ तो मतलब स्क्रिप्चर से उनका रद या रुदूद शुरू करूँ तो है ना वो लोग लाइन पे आ जाएंगे इंशाल्लाह ताला। वो लोग नहीं फिलोसफी में नहीं आर्ग्यू कर पाते, बच्चे हैं वो लोग बेचारे, डरते हैं, बहुत डरते हैं, ठीक है। मतलब यार कसम से यार एम्बेरसिंग यार, एम्बेरस कर दिया अपना कुछ। चाहे हीटेड डिबेट और इस्लामिक अवेकनिंग भी ऑनलाइन है, ठीक है। अब अच्छे दोनों एक दूसरे के डिबेट कर रहे हैं क्या? सारी क्यों देखते हो भाई तुम इस्लामिक इस्लामिक अवेकनिंग, सॉरी, हीटेड डिबेट्स यार क्यों क्यों सुनते हो यार लोग? कसम से इतनी बेइज्जती कराई है इससे, हिंदुइज्म की इतनी बेइज्जती कराई है। जैनिल हकीकत के हाथों इतनी बेइज्जती हुई थी इसकी उस दफा, पूरी दुनिया वर्ल्ड वाइड बेइज्जती हो गई थी यार, इंटरनेशनल बेइज्जती कराई है इसने। फिर भी सुनना है, सुनना जरूरी है इनको। उसके बाद काफी डैमेज हुआ है इसको, उसके बाद काफी डैमेज हुआ, उसके बाद काफी है ना ये, थोड़ा है ना इसको पड़ी है, थोड़ा लाइन पे आया है, ठीक है। ठीक है, तो अब देखते हैं कौन आता है डिबेट करने। गाइस लिंक ओपन है, अगर सवाल या जवाब भी हैं, क्वेश्चंस और आंसर्स भी हैं, तो भी आओ डिबेट करेंगे, बिल्कुल क्यों नहीं करेंगे यार, क्यों नहीं करेंगे आप लोगों से डिबेट, क्यों नहीं करेंगे आप लोगों से डिस्कशन। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह से स्नीको और उसकी डिबेट का रिव्यू हो गया, कुछ फ़ायदा होपफुली हुआ होगा। As for Muslims who are watching, please feel free to join and ask questions on the stream, ठीक है। राइट, तो मैं थोड़ा इंस्टाग्राम के मैसेज देख लेता हूँ, देखता हूँ उसमें अगर किसी को सवाल है तो उसका कर लेता हूँ। हाँ, मुझे लोगों ने जो गॉड डिलीजन है ना उसका रेफ्यूटेशन करने को बोला था। ऑनेस्टली यार गॉड डिलीजन इज वेरी बैड बुक, ऑनेस्टली, लाइक अच्छी आर्ग्यूमेंट्स नहीं है। बस वही है कि भाई यार ये हो सकता है, ये हो सकता है, इसलिए गॉड का एग्जिस्टेंस नहीं है, डजंट प्रूव इट। जब ये लोग बोलते हैं गॉड को प्रूव करो तो बोलते हैं हमें डिसाइसिव आर्ग्यूमेंट चाहिए, हमें ऐसा प्रूफ चाहिए कि बस खतरनाक, लेकिन खुद को उस क्राइटेरिया में नहीं डालते, खुद को उस बॉक्स में नहीं डालते, फजूल। यानी क्या बोले यार इनको, कसम से irrational absurd people, that's all I can say। एक क्रिश्चियन का मैसेज आया है, उसने बोला मैं देखता हूँ लाइव आने का, लेट्स सी, उसका थोड़ा इंतजार करेंगे, फिर उसके बाद नहीं आया तो फिर क्या कर सकते हैं यार आप। हाँ भाई, क्वेश्चन आ जाए, इससे डिस्कशन होगी। पिछली दफा मैंने इंस्टाग्राम पे लाइव आया था, मैं एक दफा आई लिटरली जॉइन इंस्टाग्राम वंस, इंस्टाग्राम पे लाइव किया था और एक क्रिश्चियन ने बोला था आता हूँ, और वो भागना शुरू हो गया, ऐसे भागा ना वो, कसम से इतना भागा है वो, मेरी तब गई कसम से, बहुत तब भी मेरी। हाँ, इंतजार करते हैं, देखते हैं कौन आता है। देखते हैं स्क्रीन में कुछ क्वेश्चंस थे। sarcasm था। ओह माय गॉड, ये क्या हुआ? मैं भी न्यूज़ पढ़ रहा हूँ। एक मैंने भी न्यूज़ पढ़ी है। ओलंपिक्स में एक इटालियन बॉक्सर को एक ट्रांसजेंडर मर्द से लड़ना पड़ा। ओह माय गॉड, तो पढ़ रहा हूँ तो भाई इसने ये बोला, जो लड़की जो हारी है ना, उसका दिया हुआ है। उसने कहा है, आई एम यूज्ड टू सफरिंग, आई हैव नेवर टेकन अ पंच लाइक दैट, इट्स इम्पॉसिबल टू कंटिन्यू। तो उसने बोला है कि भाई ऐसे मुक्का मैंने खा लिया, इट्स इम्पॉसिबल टू कंटिन्यू। आई एम नोबडी टू से इट्स इलीगल। I got into the ring to fight, but I didn't feel like it anymore after the first minute. I started to feel a strong pain in my nose. I didn't give up, but a punch hurt too much, and so I said enough. I'm leaving with my head held high. बे तो मर्द है पूरा, लड़का है ये तो। क्रेजी यार। आई होप इट्स नॉट ट्रू यार, कसम से ओलंपिक्स में भी। तो क्रिश्चियन का भी मैं रिप्लाई है, क्रिश्चियन का रिप्लाई बताता हूँ। I'm sorry, not available at this time, and worried about this live debate revealing identity and apostasy. तो भाई अब है ना, तो क्या करें अब क्या करें? या अल्लाह, मतलब यार। और नहीं, उसके आगे आए, बट इज इट पॉसिबल टू डू दिस इन अ चैट? नहीं, नॉट पॉसिबल। उसको बोल दिया नॉट पॉसिबल, मैं नहीं करूंगा चैट पे। मैंने उसको बोल दिया चैट पे नहीं भाई, चैट पे डिबेट क्या भाई? प्रोफेसर डेव वर्सेस सबूर अहमद, ये क्या हुआ? कुछ हुआ कि डिबेट हुआ? देखते हैं, अभी गूगल करता हूँ, मैं यूट्यूब करता हूँ। यूट्यूब पे सर्च मारते हैं प्रोफेसर डेव वर्सेस। सोच रहा हूँ अभी यार उस पे भी लाइव आ जाऊँ। इंस्टाग्राम पे भी लाइव आ जाऊँ सोच रहा हूँ। ओह प्रोफेसर डेव, ये बंदा, ये तो अजीब सा कोई नहीं है, लाइक एवोल्यूशनिस्ट टाइप गाय, राइट? या आई हैव सीन हिम, लाइक, लेकिन अजीब सी बातें करता है बहुत। आई थिंक आई सीन हिम यार, ये तो इसकी वीडियोस देखी है मैंने पहले। नहीं हुआ डिबेट, ऑब्वियसली डिबेट नहीं करेगा। देखते हैं, देख रहा हूँ मैं अभी एक वीडियो। and I teach ethics in a university and philosophy. It doesn't improve anything. PhDs, university teachers, many of them are the dumbest when it comes to metaphysical questions and debates. Basically, anyone who steps out of his field most of the time makes blunders and erroneous statements. And I'm pretty sure that this guy who I'm watching is gonna do the same. Oh, I'm not even sharing that. My bad, homies. So basically, I'm watching the video of Professor Dave explain.
Right? He debated an actual professor
Mm.
and James Tor, and James Tor humiliated him.
Oh, was I humiliated, Sabor? Which part was that? Was it this one?
Mr. Farina!
I think what you mean is that I humiliated James and further exposed him as a lying apologist fraud, but you're a reality-denying toddler, so you flip the result and just whine about personal attacks because you're incapable of discussing science.
And the video that we made was made last year, so obviously
She's talking about personal attacks. His video's title is Sabur Ahmed is a whiny toddler coward. This is the title of the video. Look at the top left. And he's talking about personal attacks. He's in no position to talk about personal attacks.
this has been on his mind for some time.
No, this hasn't been on my mind for some time. I don't care about you. Some people sent me the link to that video, and I knew it would be so pathetic that I could.
He just said I don't care about you, and he made a 3-hour video on them, and then this 8-minute video. So that's pretty sure you do care, bro.
Debunk it as a
hurt you.
reaction video with zero preparation. So I did that.
And so I'm going to offer him fully paid trip to the UK, hotels, flights, everything covered. Anything else that he wants covered will be covered as well, inshallah, for a debate on is Darwinian evolution a fact and is intelligent design science?
Wow, that sounds great. Did you want to reach out to me personally to discuss that? Oh, you'd rather grandstand to your brainwashed followers because you're bluffing?
He doesn't even have a PhD, and he has the audacity to make a video on other people claiming that they're
Okay. So he just publicly said that, and you heard it, and you're watching the video, which you knew you would. And then you're not accepting it. You're saying, okay, message me. Just say, okay, bro, pick a time.
misrepresenting stuff when he himself is in his very title claiming to be a professor when he's not.
If I was wrong about you misrepresenting science every time you open your mouth, you'd be busy refuting literally anything I said instead of continuing to whine about the name of my channel and pretending I didn't teach at a university, which I did.
And the way that he attacks other intelligent design proponents like Stephen Meyer and Michael B, who are all academics, who are all, people who have published stuff.
Published what? Books full of lies? They're fake academics, just like you. They don't deserve respect, and neither do you.
Anybody with 2 brain cells will look at
Say that they don't deserve respect, and neither do you. Very childish, man. Very childish. Completely childish. It holds up. I'm talking to the Christian right now. चलो इसको प्ले करते हैं आज.
the conversation between you and James Tor and say, you just made a fool of yourself.
That's funny because everyone there who wasn't a science illiterate moron bust in from Jim's church club was cheering for me as I humiliated him right to his dumb face.
And when you take people like this from behind a screen where they feel confident and you bring them in person and you put the heat on them, you stick it on them, that's when these people melt. And that's when these people really break down and you can see how faulty their arguments are. So
The fool said, talking a big game from behind his computer screen. Yes, if you were to find the courage to debate me live, you would melt.
I want to see his reaction.
What courage to debate you live? He's telling you to come and debate. Okay, he's telling you to come and debate.
When he's making these claims. And I actually want to ask him that, how can you shamelessly call yourself a professor?
Kiddo, if you want to debate me on scientific topics, you'd better come ready with more than whining about the name of my YouTube channel. But we both know that's all you've got, or you would have said something scientific by now. They do insertion, deletion.
I'm going to do what James Tor could not do.
Tell the truth about science? I doubt it.
But James Tor still had to, just stick to the argument.
Oh, did he have to stick to the argument? Is that what this is?
Mr. Farida!
The funny thing is that as much as James is a complete liar and fraud who offered nothing but incredulity and pageantry the entire debate, he does actually understand chemistry. So it was genuinely challenging to expose his lies in real time. Multiple times he just flat out lied about papers I presented him with, and it's not easy to counter those lies in real time and make the audience understand how he's lying. You're a science illiterate moron who can't discuss biology at a 9th grade level. So if I humiliated James that badly, what do you think's going to happen to you?
This guy has no idea what they're talking about. And that's when their public, demeanor and their decorum all falls apart because they're in front of a live audience.
भाई क्या बात कर रहा है ये बंदा दूसरा वाला कुछ बस ये पर्सनल अटैक्स हो रहा है अभी ये कुछ आर्गुमेंट नहीं रिफ्यूज कर रहा सो आई डोंट नो व्हाई आई एम वाचिंग दिस बंदा पर्सनल अटैक्स रिफ्यूज कर रहा
If you aren't scared.
According to this generous offer in which you will be paid to come and you'll be able to, enjoy London, enjoy the sights and scenery or whatever, and enjoy what you like to do, which is have a debate.
A 5th time. You're so generous and charitable when playing pretend.
If he is actually as confident as he makes himself appear, paid for
with it, which you would find out if you were to actually email me like a big boy. Do you have any idea how disingenuous you sound when you keep repeating this over and over again to yourselves and not to me?
Whatever silly justification that he would give.
My feeling is he's going to reject it. That's my feeling.
Yes, I know you are hoping that's what happens, Sabor, but tough shit. I've never been to London, and I'd love for you to pay me to go there and humiliate you right to your face. And since you puffed your chest up this much, you're kind of stuck now. So I look forward to your email where you will be outlining how funds will be transferred over to me in order to book my travel to foggy London town. All right, then. Cheerio, love.
Okay, now Donkey Noises, and he's saying that they are the one who are acting childish and ad hominem attacks. So much for Professor Dave. ओके चलो भाई अब जो भी है लाइव में ज्वाइन करो डिबेट करने के लिए डिस्कशन करने के लिए इंशाल्लाह ताला स्पेस बनाएंगे डिस्कशन करेंगे थोड़ा माहौल बनाएंगे मैसेज बहुत आ रहा है मुझे, देख रहा हूँ मैं क्या सीन है। मैसेज एकदम से बहुत सारा है। Okay, so the Christian is running away. नहीं करना उसको डिबेट। तो इसे नहीं, मैं नहीं कर रहा, मैं लाइव में नहीं कर रहा डिबेट। चैट में आओ। मैंने बोला चैट में नहीं करूँगा अभी। चैट में कर क्यों करूँ भाई? तो फालतू टाइम फ्री मेरे पास, चैट में करूँ, राइट? ओके। ओके, सही। तो ये हो गया। चाहता योगी इज हियर। लाइव डिस्कशन अब शुरू होगी इंशाल्लाह ताला। एक हिंदू बुद्धिस्ट एग्जैक्टली रिमेंबर पहले भी हुए इसके साथ। तो लेट्स चेक हिम एंड लेट्स डिस्कस। हाँ हेलो।
कैसे हैं भाई?
अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह रब्बल
यार
आलमीन।
आजकल लाइव
बेहतरीन
नहीं
हो।
आती क्या बात है?
आवाज नहीं आई, कटी है तुम्हारी अभी आवाज। वापस बोलो।
मैंने बोला लाइव नहीं आते आजकल।
आ रहा हूँ यार, अभी थोड़ा आहिस्ता आहिस्ता वापस स्टार्ट कर रहा हूँ।
पता नहीं अपन कितने दिन बाद, मेरे ख्याल से नहीं 2-3 महीने बाद मिल रहे हैं अपन शायद।
नहीं नहीं, लाइव आता हूँ, टाइमिंग फिक्स नहीं है ना, बस ये मसला है। वरना लाइव मैं देख लेता हूँ कब आया था। आ तो रहा हूँ, थोड़ा ज़्यादा मैंने इंक्रीज किया लाइव आना। ज़्यादा देर रहता
हम्म।
नहीं हूँ, 1-1 घंटे की लाइव करता हूँ। जो कंटेंट में लगता है बात करने के लायक उस पर बात करता हूँ। थोड़ा
यार
इंतजार करता हूँ
लॉजिकल
कोई आ रहा है।
लॉजिकल लॉजिकल डिस्कशन करने में अच्छा लगता है ना। फालतू किसी से फालतू बात कर सकते हैं कि दावा बजा से बात करो तो कम से कम लॉजिक से बात तो होती है। चलो मैं फोन से हूँ, मैं लैपटॉप से लॉग इन करता हूँ। मेरे को 5 मिनट में समझ आएगा।
चलो ठीक है, ओके। ये बंदा डिसेंट है, ये जो खाता योगी है वो थोड़ा डिसेंट बंदा है, तमीज़ से बात करता है। कभी कभी प्रोडक्टिव बातें होती हैं। तो बोल रहा है अभी लैपटॉप से आएगा, अभी कंप्यूटर पे था, लैपटॉप से आएगा। तो होपफुली बेनिफिशियल रहेगा इंशाल्लाह ताला। हम्म, जब तक अगर किसी और को आना है, कुछ सवाल आते हैं तो प्लीज़। ठीक है। थिंकर ने सवाल पूछा है, व्हाट्स योर फेवरेट आर्गुमेंट फॉर गॉड्स एग्जिस्टेंस? कलाम कॉस्मोलॉजी का आर्गुमेंट मेरी फेवरेट है। मेरी अच्छा, फन फैक्ट, आई रिसेंटली मेट कैसर भाई, कैसर अहमद राजा, कराची आए थे वो, तो कॉन्फ्रेंस रखी थी जिस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में मैं हूँ। सो हमने ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एक कॉन्फ्रेंस रखी थी, तो उनको एज स्पीकर बुलाया था। तो उसमें मेरी बात हुई थी कैसर भाई से, और इसी पर हुई थी कि फेवरेट आर्ग्यूमेंट नहीं, शायद मैंने ही सवाल पूछा था कि मैंने क्लेम किया था, मैंने बोला था कि मुझे तो कलाम कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्ग्यूमेंट बहुत पसंद है, आई थिंक इट्स वन ऑफ द बेस्ट और दी बेस्ट आर्ग्यूमेंट। उनके सामने तो कैसर भाई भी हैरान हो गए, कैसर बोले अच्छा भाई, लाइक फॉर हिम उनको कंटीजेंसी आर्ग्यूमेंट ज़्यादा अच्छी लगती है कैसर भाई को, मुझे कलाम कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्ग्यूमेंट ज़्यादा अच्छी लगती है। तो तो उन्होंने पूछा क्यों, तो मैंने ये बोला कि भाई आर्ग्यूमेंट का मकसद क्या होता है यार, आर्ग्यूमेंट का मकसद होता है कि आगे वाले बंदे को कन्विंस करना अपने पैराडाइम में। आई थिंक सबसे मोस्ट वेल इक्विप्ड जो है ना, वो कलाम कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्ग्यूमेंट है। कलाम कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्ग्यूमेंट एक फिलोसोफर को भी कन्विंस करती है, ठीक है, और वो एक फार्मर को भी कन्विंस कर सकती है, एक लेमैन को कन्विंस कर सकती है, और एक बहुत एक इंटेलेक्चुअल को कन्विंस कर सकती है। एक लेमैन को कन्विंस कैसे करेगी, कलाम कॉस्मोलॉजिकल आर्गुमेंट बोलेगी भाई देखो एवरीथिंग बिगेन टू एग्जिस्ट, हर चीज जो शुरुआत होती है उसका कोई रीजन होता है, उसकी एक वजह होती है, तो पूरी कायनात की कोई वजह होगी ना, और खुदा है, इतनी सिंपल सी बात है। या पूरी कायनात की जो वजह होगी वो पावरफुल होगा, वो इंटेलेक्चुअल होगा, इस तरह की बात, ठीक है। और जब फिलोसफर की बात होगी तो ऑब्वियसली इंटीग्रिटीज में आएंगे। मैंने फिलोसफी हलका कमिंग बैक, ओ कराची वाला सीन, अरे philosophy halaka Allahu alam, man, when it is coming, it is getting replaced pretty much. Intellectual rival is coming back. So रिबात उलूम जो है आलमगीर रोड पे कराची में, उधर इंशाल्लाह हम इंटेलेक्चुअल रिवाइवल सून शुरू करने वाले हैं, उस पर काम चल रहा है। अब बेसिकली द पार्ट 2 ऑफ इंटेलेक्चुअल रिवाइवल, पार्ट 1 हो चुका है, 5 महीने का जो कोर्स था, तो अब 5 और महीने हम ला रहे हैं इंशाल्लाह, बस जल्द ला रहे हैं उसको, 1-2 महीने में आ जाएगा, वो लॉन्च भी हो जाएगा। फिर उसके बाद हम है ना वो ला रहे हैं, हमारा सेमिनरी शुरू हो रहा है शजरा इंस्टीट्यूट पे, हमारा वो सेमिनरी मतलब के प्रॉपर आलिम कोर्स शुरू हो रहा है, उसमें मैं इंटेलेक्चुअल साइंसेस पढ़ाऊंगा, ठीक है, लॉजिक वगैरह, दलाइल इस्लाम वगैरह इंशाल्लाह ताला, ठीक है। अब मैं हाथो योगी को ले रहा हूँ, वो आ रहे हैं, उनसे डिस्कशन करेंगे। जी भाई,
क्या हाल चाल, आवाज आ रही मेरी ठीक से?
हाँ बहुत अच्छी आ रही है।
अरे दावा भाई, मैं कुरान पढ़ रहा था अभी कुछ दिन पहले, तो
चलो
एक
अच्छी बात है।
कुरान पढ़ने के बाद मैंने एक हदीस में निकली बुखारी की मेरे सामने से, तो इसमें लिखा हुआ है द प्रॉफिट सेड इफ आई एम इनवाइटेड टू अ मील ऑफ tortoise I will accept it, and if I'm given a tortoise as a present I will accept it. तो
क्या
ये तो
कुरान
यहाँ
में लिखा
सुअर
हुआ है?
खाने की
सबर, सॉरी सॉरी,
नहीं
कुरान में
नहीं
लिखा हुआ है?
ये बुखारी में है, बुखारी की हदीस है ये,
अच्छा अच्छा,
5178। तो यहाँ तो जहाँ तक मैंने सुना था कि इस्लाम में सूअर तो हराम है, तो यहाँ पे सूअर कैसे मोहम्मद साहब खा रहे हैं, इसके बारे में बताएं मेरे को।
सबर सबर सबर, सबर, सरहदी सी देख रहा हूँ, नेट का थोड़ा इशू चल रहा है,
कोई
नेट
बात
इतना
मैं
अच्छा नहीं चल
पेस्ट
रहा।
कर दूं क्या?
हाँ नहीं, हदीस तो मिल जाएगी, नंबर तो नहीं बता देता, गूगल तो कर दी, लेकिन अ, ठीक है, खुल गई है नंबर, ये मोबाइल पे खोली हुई है।
हम्म,
अम, ठीक है, अल्लाह आलम, हदीस क्या था देखता हूँ। हम्म, सही, अल्लाह आलम, देख रहा हूँ मैं। हाँ हदीस ट्रॉटर्स इधर यार, ट्रॉटर्स की मुझे देखनी पड़ेगी इधर।
टॉर्टस मतलब
मतलब क्या
होता है सुअर के पैर।
ट्रॉटर्स? हाँ वैसे तो ये इस्तेमाल होता है, लेकिन और भी चीज़ों की इस्तेमाल होता है शायद। घोड़े जो अरबिक वर्ड है शायद घोड़े के लिए भी इस्तेमाल होता
नहीं,
है शायद।
स्पेसिफिक सुअर की टांग को या पाय को टॉर्टस बोलते हैं।
हाँ लेकिन मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि जो अरबिक वर्ड है ना, और आई थिंक इंग्लिश भी, वो लाजिम नहीं है कि वो सुअर का पैर हो, समझ रहे हो?
नहीं,
जो
मैंने
मतलब मैं बोल
मैंने
रहा
कई डिक्शनरी चेक की है, बहुत सारी चेक, ऑक्सफोर्ड की भी चेक की मैं बोला कि हो सकता है मैं तो क्या होता है कई बार किसी वर्ड को कई मल्टीपल मीनिंग में
हूँ।
यूज किया जाता है, तो मैंने बोल सकता कि ये किसी और पाए की बात कर रहा हूँ, पर जब टॉर्टस लिखा होता है तो उसका मतलब कि सुअर के पैर होते हैं।
सही
खासकर
सही।
मैक्सिको में टॉर्टस का बड़ा उपयोग होता है,
हम्म,
तो इसके बारे
मेरा
में थोड़ा
नेट
सर्च
सही नहीं
करके
चल
मेरे
रहा,
को बताना।
मेरा नेट सही नहीं चल रहा, सबर
मैं अरबी वाली पेस्ट कर दूं क्या?
सबर। आवाज आ रही है तुम्हें?
हाँ, आवाज तो आ रही है।
यार मुझे आवाज नहीं आ रही तुम्हारी, 2 सेकंड दो। हाँ बात।
अब नहीं आ रही आवाज, अब आवाज कट रही है।
अभी कट रही है आवाज?
नहीं, अभी ठीक आ रही है।
चलो सही शुक्र। हाँ वाईफाई इशू थोड़ा हो रहा है।
मोबाइल नेटवर्क से हो क्या? वाईफाई से आ जाओ ना।
वाईफाई से ही आया हूँ, वाईफाई से आया हूँ। सही। अच्छा तो ये
वहां पे
हदीस के मैं
वाईफाई
देख
का
रहा हूँ
क्या रेट है?
ट्रांसलेशन,
मतलब उसमें उसमें
ट्रांसलेशन देख रहा
उसमें
हूँ।
वो है क्या कुछ?
नहीं वाईफाई अच्छा है मेरा, लेकिन ये
नहीं, मतलब
सही नहीं चल
वहां
रहा।
के रेट क्या है वाईफाई के? उसमें लिमिटेड डाटा की अनलिमिटेड डाटा रहता है?
अनलिमिटेड रहता है जो वाईफाई होता है, उसमें तो अनलिमिटेड होता है।
और क्या कॉस्ट पड़ती है वहां पे अनलिमिटेड डाटा की?
अलग अलग होता है,
अच्छा,
सस्ते भी होते हैं
अगर
महंगे भी होते
200 Mbps की स्पीड हो और अनलिमिटेड हो, उसका क्या रेट होगा?
हैं। हाँ देखो, अभी मैंने जो अरबिक डिक्शनरी खोली है, सब मैं पहले
हाँ,
जवाब
हाँ।
देता हूँ। अरबिक डिक्शनरी है, उसमें कुरा का वर्ड इस्तेमाल है। सही है,
हम्म,
मतलब जो वर्ड इस्तेमाल हुआ है हदीस में वो क्या है? कुरा का वर्ड इस्तेमाल हुआ है। तो कुरा अरबिक में मैंने अलमानी में खोली हुई है मोबाइल पे।
हम्म,
सही है, उसमें जानवर के पाँव को बोलते हैं कुरा। सही है, जरूरी नहीं है वो सुअर का पाँव, जान मतलब पाए को कुरा बोलते हैं। ठीक है, वो और वो क्या बोलते हैं, घोड़े या म्यूल को भी बोल सकते हैं। ठीक है, तो ये मतलब इधर ये जवाब मिल जाता है इसका। जरूरी नहीं है सुअर का हो सकता है घोड़े या म्यूल का इस्तेमाल हो,
नहीं, अगर इसको
या
इसको
टांग के लिए भी इस्तेमाल हो सकता है, तो इसलिए।
टॉर्च की स्पेलिंग अगर अपन इसको सर्च करें गूगल में या फिर ऑक्सफोर्ड की डिक्शनरी में, तो
अरे
वहां जो मीनिंग मिलता है।
इंग्लिश इंग्लिश छोड़ो ना, तुम अरबी देखो ना, अरबी मैं बता रहा हूँ ना।
आप
अरबी
अरबी मैं
उससे,
इसलिए कमेंट कर पाऊंगा कि मैं अरबी पढ़ नहीं पाता हूँ।
अरे तो तुम
मैं
एक
तो
काम
जो
करो ना, तुम जो वर्ड है मैं बताता हूँ भाई, हदीस में जो कुरा का वर्ड है ना, वो है जो टॉटर्स के लिए इस्तेमाल हुआ है। सही है, कुरा का वर्ड
अच्छा,
टॉटर के लिए
दिक्कत
इस्तेमाल हुआ है।
दिक्कत क्या होती है?
उसको
अरबी अरबी
उसको कॉपी
अरबी
करके
से ट्रांस
अलमानी एक डिक्शनरी है अरबिक की, उस पर पेस्ट कर दो, तो वो पूरे अल्फाज आ जाएंगे आपके सामने।
अच्छा, इसमें क्या होता है कि इसको मैं अगर हिंदी में ट्रांसलेट करूंगा तो पूरा ही खराब हो जाता है पूरा। और इसका दूसरा तरीका ये है कि पहले इसको उर्दू में ट्रांसलेट करूं, उर्दू में ट्रांसलेट करके फिर हिंदी में ट्रांसलेट करूं, तो कुछ सही मीनिंग निकलता है। तो वो एक
नहीं
लंबी
ये
कहानी आती है।
बस आपने सवाल कर दिया, मैं जवाब दे दिया। मैं भी क्या बोलते हैं इससे मतलब इससे कोई मसला तो आ नहीं रहा, क्योंकि ट्रॉटर्स का मतलब ये भी होता है जो मैंने आपको बताया। तो अल्लाह आलम स्पेसिफिक मीनिंग क्या है हदीस में, लेकिन ये कुछ कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन या कुछ नहीं आ रही, क्योंकि दूसरे मीनिंग्स भी हैं। ठीक है, और जो मैंने अरबी अरबी में ही देखा, अरबी डिक्शनरी देखा, अगर आपको भी देखना है तो कुरान का जो वर्ड है वो कॉपी करें आप अरबी से। अलमानी अरबी की डिक्शनरी है, अरबी टू इंग्लिश कर देगी, वो आप पेस्ट करें, उसमें आपको सारे डिफरेंट मीनिंग्स मिल जाएंगे उस वर्ड के। सिंपल सा आपको समझ आ जाएगा।
अच्छा, एक बात और बताया दावा ब्रदर कि ये जो हमारे अपने इधर इंडिया, पाकिस्तान, बांग्लादेश में जो फतवे आते हैं, खासकर फतवा आलमगीरी, इसका क्या सिग्निफिकेंस है? मतलब उसकी इसकी इम्पोर्टेंस कितनी रहती है?
इतनी इतनी नहीं है, इतनी सच नहीं है। उससे ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंस दूसरी चीज़ों की है। जिस असल में फतवा आलमगीरी बस एक था, फतवा एक ज़माने का, आलमगीर के ज़माने का। उससे कभी कभार एविडेंसेस लिए जाते हैं, जस्टिफिकेशन ली जाती है, लेकिन एज सच नहीं है। एज सच नहीं है वो। क्या बोलते हैं, उससे बड़े बड़े क्या बोलते हैं रिसोर्सेज इस्तेमाल किए जाते हैं। मतलब एक
नहीं
है
पर
वैलिड सोर्स है, बड़ी सोर्स है, लेकिन उससे बड़ी भी है। जैसे फतवा आलमगीरी
नहीं
समझो कि भाई एक साइड एविडेंस होगी, मेन कुरान सुनना होगा, फिर मेन जो मुहक्किकीन उलमा है वो होंगे, सही है, फिर उसके बाद जो है क्या बोलते हैं फतवा आलमगीरी हो गया या इमाम आबिदीन वगैरह के फतावे हो गए, उनके लिए जाते हैं। और ये सिर्फ हनफी इस्तेमाल करते हैं फतवा आलमगीरी, बाकी फुकाहा और मज़ाहिब इस्तेमाल नहीं करते, क्योंकि वो हनफी फतावे हैं उसमें। तो जो है
नहीं,
बाकी
इसलिए मैं
बाकियों के
बोला
लिए
कि
कोई रेलेवेंस नहीं।
देवबंदी तो है, वो तो मदरसों में हमारे यहाँ तो पढ़ाते हैं फतवा आलमगीरी।
ना उनमें
और
सिग्निफिकेंस वो लोग मानते हैं, हनफी है ना।
क्योंकि इसमें इसमें कुछ कुछ एक मेरे को इसमें रूलिंग मिली है फतवा आलमगीरी में, और ये इस्लामिक वेब डॉट नेट में, क्योंकि इनके बारे में कोई बात करता नहीं आता, क्योंकि इनके बारे में लोगों को पता ही नहीं है, जहाँ तक मेरा अंदाजा है, क्योंकि फतवा आलमगीरी को तो ट्रांसलेट भी नहीं किया गया है।
नहीं ट्रांसलेट किया गया, उर्दू में पढ़ी हुई है।
उर्दू में, पर हिंदी इंग्लिश में ट्रांसलेट नहीं किया गया उसको।
अल्लाह अल्लाह, उर्दू में तो
तो इसका सिग्निफिकेंस मतलब है, इसको अपन एज ए रेफरेंस ले सकते हैं कि अगर किसी को फतवा तो सवाल ही होता है ना, कोई सवाल अगर कोई लेके जाए किसी आलम के पास कि भाई ये समस्या मेरे को है,
तो कर
तो
लो,
उसका
हनफियों से सवाल कर लो, हनफियों से कर लो। मैं हनफी नहीं हूँ तो मुझे नहीं
अच्छा
पता होगा भाई, मैं हनफी नहीं हूँ।
अच्छा, दूसरा मेरा बड़ा क्वेश्चन ये है कि जो इनहेरिटेंस का लॉ है जो कुरान में सूरह निसा में 11 और 12 में है, उसके बारे में अगर मैथमेटिक्स ठीक हो तो अपन उस बारे में बात कर सकते हैं।
यार ये यार ऑनेस्टली में पता है क्या सवाल होगा, उसका बहुत दफा जवाब हो चुका है। मैं एक लिंक शेयर कर दूंगा, उसमें समझ आ जाएगा।
नहीं, वो
उसमें भी यार
उनका
वही
मत
होता
देना,
है।
क्या बोलते हैं, उनसे मैंने बात की थी मुफ्ती साहब से, वाजिदी साहब से, इस बारे
नहीं
में।
नहीं मैं प्रॉपर लिंक दे दूंगा, प्रॉपर इन डेप्थ होगा वो, वीडियो नहीं आर्टिकल होगा, आर्टिकल रिसर्च होगी प्रॉपर, उससे
नहीं,
जवाब मिल
आर्टिकल तो
जाएगा।
मैंने भी पढ़े हैं, आर्टिकल मैंने बहुत सारे पढ़े हैं उसके, पर दिक्कत क्या है कि उसको, जैसे जहाँ तक मैंने एक एक स्पेसिफिक कंडीशन अगर निकाली, कि जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल मैं बहुत शॉर्ट में समझाता हूँ कि एक आदमी मर जाता है, अपने पीछे 100 रुपये छोड़ता है, वो उसकी टोटल मिलके 100 रुपये की है। अब उसकी एक वाइफ है, 2 बेटियां और माँ बाप हैं उसके, तो ये 100 रुपये उनमें बराबर बंटने हैं। तो जो 11 और 12 नंबर की आयत है सूरह निसा की, उसके हिसाब से 1/8 उसकी वाइफ को मिलेगा, 2/3 उसकी बेटियों को मिलेगा, टोटल 1/6 उसके फादर को मिलेगा, 1/6 उसकी मदर को मिलेगा। तो जब हम इसको टोटल करते हैं तो वो 112.5% निकलता है, मतलब 112 रुपये 50 पैसे निकलता है वो। तो मेरे को इसी, क्योंकि जो जो कंडीशन मैंने रखी है, जो अभी मैंने बताई अभी, उस कंडीशन को रख के अगर उसको मैथमेटिकली सॉल्व करेंगे तो वो तो नहीं हो सकता, चाहे कोई कहीं का आर्टिकल ला के दे दे मेरे को, क्योंकि मैं तो सिंपल जो जो कुरान में लिखा है, मैं जैसा डायरेक्शन उसमें दिया गया है कि कब कहाँ किसको कैसा बंटवारा मिलता है, तो बाकी एंगल से देखा जाए तो ठीक मिल रहा है सबको। पर अगर किसी आदमी की 2 बेटियां ही हैं बस, और उसकी एक वाइफ है और माँ बाप हैं उसके, तब की स्थिति में मामला थोड़ा बिगड़ रहा है उसमें। बाकियों में ठीक है, बाकियों में आप बांट सकते हैं, बढ़ जाता है, पर जब ये सिनेरियो आता है तो वहां पे नहीं बढ़ पाता है। इसके बारे में क्या कहेंगे?
इसमें यार वही मैं आर्टिकल प्रेफर करूंगा, सेंड कर दूं, क्योंकि ये हाँ पता है मुझे कि क्या सवाल है। इन इशू नहीं आता वैसे, ऐसा इशू नहीं आता, क्योंकि उसमें आप पूरा कॉन्टेक्स्ट देखेंगे ना, मतलब कॉन्टेक्स्ट पूरे कुरान और हदीस को साथ रखेंगे, बहुत लंबी डिस्कशन हो जाएगी, लेकिन कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन नहीं आता एज सच। मैं आर्टिकल खोल के बेहतर, क्यों मुझे पहले हदीस, तुम कुरान की आयत साथ सामने ला के रखोगे, फिर मैं हदीसों को भी सामने ला के रखूंगा, उससे जवाब आपको आराम से मिल जाएगा। ये चीज़ सीन है। तो अगर
नहीं, पर
मैं
जब
हाँ हाँ बोलो।
मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि जब अपन तरजीह देते हैं तो अपन कुरान को सबसे ऊपर रखेंगे ना, उसके बाद हदीसों का नंबर आएगा।
नहीं 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 नहीं, ये गलत है। कुरान और हदीस जो है ना, कुरान हदीस जो है ना, वो कुरान की वजाहत करती है, ये समझना ज़रूरी है, ठीक है। ये उसूल में आप समझ जाएंगे, उसूल तफसीर में समझ जाएंगे। ये कुरान जो हदीस है ना, कुरान की ये बड़ी मिसकंसेप्शन है लोगों में। कुरान जो है हदीस से अव्वल है, और अगर हदीस, अगर कुरान कोई चीज़ अमूमी तौर पे बात कह रहा होगा और हदीस उसको स्पेसिफाई कर रही है, तो हदीस को रिजेक्ट कर दिया जाएगा, ऐसा नहीं होता। अगर कोई कुरान एक जनरल बात कर रहा है और हदीस उस जनरल बात की स्पेसिफिकेशन करती है, तो हम कुरान को स्पेसिफाई करेंगे, कि कुरान मतलब एक स्पेसिफिक बात कर रहा है, जनरल बात नहीं कर रहा है। जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल अगर मैं एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ कि जैसे भाई अगर कुरान कहे कि भाई एक जनरल स्टेटमेंट कहे कि कुरान कहे कि उफ नहीं कहना, माँ बाप को उफ नहीं कहना, इसका मतलब है कि भाई आप कुछ भी नहीं कह सकते, माँ बाप को डिसरिस्पेक्टफुल नहीं हो सकते। लेकिन हमें हदीस और पूरे कॉन्टेक्स्ट से पता चलता है कि भाई अगर कुरान अगर माँ बाप दीन के बारे में कुछ गलत कहें तो आप उनको करेक्ट करो, आप उनको भी बोलो। अब भाई आप बोले कुरान तो उफ कह रहा है, हम बोले कुरान कुरान कह रहा है उफ भी नहीं कहो, आप बोल रहे हो आप उनको करेक्ट करो, ये कैसी बात हो गई। हम बोलेंगे भाई हदीस ने किसको क्लैरिफिकेशन दी, इसकी स्पेसिफिकेशन दी है, सही है। तो ये होता है जब तो ये मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग ही लोगों में होती है।
नहीं,
ये है
पर
ना,
कुरान कुरान तो वर्ड ऑफ गॉड है ना, उसमें तो कोई मतलब उसमें तो कोई हेरा फेरी कोई इधर उधर कर ही नहीं सकता।
नहीं ना, तो यही तो
अगर
बात है, समझना जरूरी है। अतीउल्लाह व अतीउर रसूल, सही कुरान में ही लिखा हुआ है अतीउल्लाह अतीउर रसूल। अब अतीउर रसूल क्या है, रसूल की अतात कैसे करें, मतलब रसूल की हम फरमाबरदारी कैसे करें, मैं रसूल की फरमाबरदारी कैसे करूं। तो रसूल की फरमाबरदारी तो ऐसे ही होगी कि भाई हदीसों पर अमल करेंगे, और कुरान तो हदीस नहीं है, तो भाई रसूल की फरमाबरदारी हम हदीस से करेंगे। कुरान ही खुद कह रहा है कि रसूल की फरमाबरदारी करो, रसूल की फरमाबरदारी करने के लिए हदीस को के ऊपर अमल करेंगे, तो हम इसको करेंगे। और फिर नबी कुरान ये भी कहता है कि भाई नबी को मफहूम बता रहा हूँ कि नबी को क्या बोलते हैं, कुरान समझाने के लिए भेजा गया है। नबी जो कुरान समझाएगा वो कुरान से, कुरान मतलब अपने अल्फाज में समझाएगा ना नबी, नबी जो समझाएगा वो हदीस में समझाएगा। तो हदीसें ज़रूरी हैं, दीन का हिस्सा है हदीसें। हदीसें ऐसे नहीं बोलेंगे साइड पे नहीं कर देंगे, हदीसें बहुत एक कोर हिस्सा है दीन का। दीन हदीसों के बगैर नामुकम्मल है, सिर्फ कुरान दीन
नहीं,
नहीं है।
पर अगर अगर इसको दूसरे एंगल से देखें तो जो कुरान की पहली आयत है, चैप्टर 1 की आयत नंबर 1, उसमें उसको अगर आप देखेंगे तो उसमें लिखा है इन द नेम ऑफ अल्लाह ऑलमाइटी और फॉरगिविंग। तो अगर फॉर एग्जांपल मैं एक किताब का ऑथर हूँ, अगर मैं यहाँ बात करूँ मैं ऑथर हूँ और मैंने किसी किताब में कुछ समझाया किसी को, तो मैं उसमें अपने आप को ऑलमाइटी और पावरफुल क्यों बताऊंगा। अगर आप उसकी पहले चैप्टर की पहली आयत खोलेंगे तो उसमें यही लिखा हुआ है। तो अगर ये किताब अल किताब है और अल्लाह ने खुद पैगंबर मोहम्मद को दी है या उनके रिवील किए उनको, तो वो पहली आयत ऐसी क्यों लेंगे जो अपने को ही डिग्निफाई करे। मतलब समझ रहे, मतलब मेरा बोलने का मतलब क्या है कि अल्लाह अपने बारे में ही क्यों लिखेंगे उसमें कि इन द नेम ऑफ अल्लाह ऑलमाइटी ऑल मर्सीफुल। अगर पहले चैप्टर की पहली आयत देखेंगे आप तो।
अच्छा तो सबर, बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम की ट्रांसलेशन पहले सही से कर देता हूँ। इन द नेम ऑफ अल्लाह अर्रहमान अर्रहीम, सही है। मोस्ट मर्सीफुल, एक्सट्रीमली मर्सीफुल, इस तरह से जनरली की जाती है, स्पेशली मर्सीफुल या ऑल मर्सीफुल, स्पेशली मर्सीफुल,
तो यहाँ
मोस्ट
तो
मर्सीफुल,
यहाँ तो
स्पेशली
अल्लाह
मर्सीफुल।
अपने बारे में एज ए फर्स्ट पर्सन बात कर रहे हैं ना,
जी
उन्होंने
जी,
खुद
फर्स्ट
बोला
पर्सन
है।
बात करें। हाँ हाँ, तो आप यही
तो
बोल रहे हैं फर्स्ट पर्सन बात क्यों करेंगे, क्योंकि अल्लाह की
नहीं
किताब, अल्लाह
फर्स्ट
का
पर्सन
कलाम है।
बात नहीं फर्स्ट पर्सन कर सकते हैं बात, मेरा कहना वो नहीं है कि फर्स्ट पर्सन
हाँ?
बात नहीं कर सकते। मेरा कहना ये है कि फर्स्ट पर्सन बात कर रहे हैं और फिर वो अपने आप को ही ऑलमाइटी और पावरफुल बता रहे हैं और
जी जी
खुद मतलब समझ रहे हैं ना बात को कि अपना डिस्कशन और अपना अपना डिग्निफिकेशन वो खुद अपनी ही किताब में कर रहे हैं।
जी जी जी,
तो
ये तो करेंगे। अल्लाह देखो भाई, जो बंदा डिजर्विंग होता है ना वो करेगा। फॉर एग्जाम्पल
नहीं
भाई अल्लाह सुब्हानहू ताला अपने आप को अर्रहमान रहीम, मालिक यौमिद्दीन, हर चीज़ बोल रहे हैं, अपने आप को बोल रहे हैं, अपने आप को
हम्म
मतलब अपने आप अपना बयान कर रहे हैं, अपनी माइट का बयान कर रहे हैं। आप शायद बोलना चाह रहे हो कि भाई ईगोइस्टिक लग रहा है ये,
नहीं
ठीक है।
नहीं ईगोइस्टिक नहीं, मेरा कहना है कि वो बोल रहे हैं कि अगर इसको मैं हिंदी में बोलूं या उर्दू में बोलूं तो उसमें ये बोल रहे हैं कि ये शुरू करो अल्लाह के नाम से या मैं शुरू करता हूं अल्लाह के नाम से। तो अगर मैं बोल रहा हूं कि मैं शुरू करता हूं अल्लाह के नाम से, तो इसका मतलब मैं अल्लाह नहीं हूं अगर मैं शुरू कर रहा हूं अल्लाह के नाम से। तो इन द
अरे
नेम ऑफ अल्लाह, यही यही तो
अच्छा,
हुआ ना
ये
उसका
बोलना था।
तर्जुमा।
अरे
तो
नहीं नहीं,
अगर
तो एक चीज समझो, कुरान में पहली बात वो बिस्मिल्लाह हमारा इनिशियल वाला नहीं लेते, कहीं बीच वाला ले लेते हैं। बहुत दफा ऐसी चीज आई है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल कोई आयत में स्टार्टिंग है कुल हु अल्लाहु अहद, बोलो कि अल्लाह एक है, अल्लाह बोल रहा है कि बोलो, तो ये अल्लाह ने नहीं बोला कुल, सही है, और स्टार्ट ही कर दिया इस तरह से जो अपने आप को लग रहा है। लेकिन ये समझो अरबी का कायदा है कि भाई ज़रूरी नहीं होता कि है ना मैं आगे वाले बंदे को बोलूँ कि बोलो कि एक्स वाई जी, कॉन्टेक्स्ट से पता चल जाएगा कि ये कमांड है या नहीं, ठीक है। इस और ये बहुत बहुत क्लियर है और भी बहुत जगहों में, सही है। कुल हुवल्लाहु अहद, अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन, अल्लाह ने जब ये अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन, सारी तारीफ अल्लाह की, उसमें भी अल्लाह अपने आप को एड्रेस कर रहा है और अपनी ही तारीफ कर रहा है। तुम आप ये बोलना चाह रहे हैं ना कि खुद ही कर रहा है, अपनी ही कर रहा है। जब और फर्स्ट पर्सन में ऐसे बात कर रहा है जैसे कोई और बात कर रहा है, ठीक है।
हाँ
तो अल्लाह
हाँ
ये
मैं ये
हाँ हाँ, तो है ना, अल्लाह एक तरह से कमांड है, अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह रब्बिल आलमीन। अल्लाह हमें बता रहे क्या बोलना है, ये हमें हमारे लिए बता रहे कि हमें क्या बोलना है। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह रब्बिल आलमीन अर्रहमानिर रहीम मालिक यौमिद्दीन, सही है। तो ऑब्वियसली कॉन्टेक्स्ट से पता चला है कि अल्लाह ने ये नाजिल की है फॉर अस टू रिसाइट। अब अल्लाह के लिए ज़रूरी नहीं है हर दफ़ा बोले कुल कुल कुल, वरना तो हर आयत में बोलना पड़ेगा कुल हुवल्लाहु अहद, सही है, कुल अल्लाहु समद, कुल लम यलिद वलम यूलद, लेकिन नहीं किया हुआ ये। कुल हुवल्लाहु अहद एक दफ़ा बोल दिया, अल्लाहु समद लम यलिद वलम यूलद, वरना तो हर आयत में ऐसा बोलना पड़ेगा, वो नहीं किया हुआ। अगर आपको इसमें इशू नहीं है कि हर आयत में नहीं बोला, तो आपको इसमें भी इशू नहीं है कि आयत की शुरू में नहीं बोला। क्योंकि वो कॉन्टेक्स्ट से पता चल जाता है कि ऑब्वियस सी बात है कि हमारे लिए रिसाइट करने के लिए है, ना कि अल्लाह सुब्हानहू व तआला या कोई और कि कोई किसी और ने पढ़ा है ये फॉर अल्लाह
नहीं,
सुब्हानहू
या
व
तो इसका मतलब ये हो सकता है कि कोई मीडिएटर बीच में, अगर ऐसा है तो वैसा बताएं मेरे
तआला।
को
नहीं,
कि भाई
नहीं है ना।
अल्लाह के और मोहम्मद साहब के बीच में जिब्राइल बीच में थे
हाँ, ये
और उन्होंने
सवाल मेरे
इनका
से किसी और
इनका
ने भी किया था, मेरे से ये सवाल किसी और ने भी किया था कि भाई ऐसा लग रहा है कि जिब्राइल अलैहिस्सलाम ने ये नाजिल किया है, तो उन्होंने नबी को बोला है कि, या उन्होंने खुद ये बोला
नहीं,
है
पर
कि
इसमें
अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह।
फिर एक
ओके, बन
एक दिक्कत
लेकिन
ये
ये
आ
सेंस नहीं बन
जाएगी
रहा,
इसमें।
लेकिन ये
हाँ
सेंस ही बन रहा, पता है क्यों सेंस नहीं बन रहा?
हाँ, क्योंकि
क्योंकि बहुत जगह फर्स्ट पर्सन में भी है, सही है, बहुत
हाँ,
जगह कुरान
तो
फर्स्ट पर्सन में
ये जो
मैं
ये जो
कि मैं
ये जो ग्रामेटिकल मिस्टेक है फर्स्ट पर्सन सेकंड पर्सन वाली, तो ये
ग्रामेटिकल
तो मेरे
मिस्टेक
को
नहीं है
जैसे
ना,
कि
ग्रामेटिकल मिस्टेक नहीं,
नहीं,
कि
मैं
अरबी
इसलिए
का
बोल
हिस्सा
रहा
है,
हूँ
ये अरबी में नॉर्म है, ये अरबी का हिस्सा है, ये ग्रामेटिकल मिस्टेक नहीं है।
भाई। पहले पहले तो रेवोल्यूशन जो आया था वो अभी जो कुरान अभी अपने पास है वो जैसे रिवील हुई थी वैसी तो नहीं है, मतलब उसका सीरियल नंबर वैसा नहीं है, कोई आयत पहले कोई आयत बाद में, ऐसा ही है ना।
ठीक है,
तो अगर ये मैं बोलता हूँ ये आयत ये नंबर चैप्टर नंबर 1 आयत नंबर 1 है ये, ठीक है। दैट मीन्स कि ये तो 1 है, ये तो जैसा कि इसमें लिखा गया है कि मैं शुरू करता हूँ अल्लाह के नाम से, तो यहाँ से तो शुरू हो रही है बात का। तो अपने को नहीं पता कि बात का रेवोल्यूशन एक सीक्वल में है कि नहीं है, पर ये तो है, ये तो नंबर 1 आयत है और चैप्टर नंबर 1 की नंबर 1 आयत है, ये तो अपन मान गए इस बात को। अब अगर ये चैप्टर नंबर 1 है और आयत नंबर 1 है, तो यहाँ पे अल्लाह, मतलब मैंने जैसे कि इसके पहले बोला, अल्लाह तो यहाँ फर्स्ट पर्सन में बात कर रहे हैं, और फर्स्ट पर्सन में बात कर रहे हैं वो भी अपने लिए बात कर रहे हैं। तो
हाँ,
या तो जिब्राइल ने ये बात मोहम्मद साहब को बोली, या फिर
मैं एक चीज समझाता
ये
हूँ मैं एक
आयत।
चीज। अगर तुम बोल रहे हो कि असल में तुम बेसिकली बोलना चाह रहे हो कि ग्रामेटिकल एरर लग रहा है, जिससे है ना जो एक पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू है इस्लाम का वो गलत साबित हो रहा है, क्योंकि है ना इस्लाम बोलता है कि अल्लाह का कलाम है, लेकिन ये इस तरह से बात हो रही है कि अगर ये अल्लाह का कलाम है तो ग्रामेटिकल एरर है। इसका मतलब है या तो ये अल्लाह का कलाम नहीं है या तो ग्रामेटिकल एरर है, ठीक है। मतलब कि या तो जिब्राइल बात कर रहे हैं और ग्रामेटिकल एरर नहीं है, या तो अल्लाह बात कर रहा है और ग्रामेटिकल एरर है। हम बोल रहे हैं नहीं, अल्लाह ही बात कर रहा है और ग्रामेटिकल एरर भी नहीं है। क्यों? क्योंकि ये आप जब ग्रामेटिकल एरर बोल रहे हो कोई चीज़ को, तो आपको उस लैंग्वेज में देखना पड़ेगा, उस लैंग्वेज में क्या उसको ग्रामेटिकल एरर बोला जाता है। जैसे कि फॉर एग्जांपल कोई चीज़ ग्रामेटिकल एरर होगी इंग्लिश में लेकिन उर्दू में नहीं होगी। जैसे मैं बोलूँ यार, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल हैदराबाद, मैं मेरे एंसेस्टर्स हैदराबाद से है, तो है ना मुझे आती है थोड़ी बहुत। तो है ना, जैसे हम जो है ना अपने लिए फर्स्ट पर्सन के लिए हम इस्तेमाल किया जाता है, सही है। जैसे हम ये चाह रहे थे कि ऐसा हो, ये फर्स्ट पर्सन के लिए इस्तेमाल किया गया, ठीक है। लेकिन हो सकता ये इंग्लिश में ऐसे कॉन्टेक्स्ट के लिए वी का इस्तेमाल करना गलत होगा, सही है। जैसे मैं बोलूँ हम ये चाह रहे थे कि है ना आप है ना सौदा ला दें फॉर एग्जांपल, फिर इंग्लिश में बोलूँ वी वांटेड यू टू गेट द
पर
ग्रोसरीज।
दावा ब्रदर ये तो डायलेक्ट की बात करें अपन लोग, क्योंकि जैसे इंडिया में भी बोला जाता है, यूपी और नदर्न पार्ट ऑफ इंडिया में वहाँ मैं को या एज आई को हम बोला जाता है कि हम यहाँ जा रहे हैं, हम वो खा रहे थे, ऐसा बोला
हाँ,
जाता है। पर वो डायलेक्ट है स्पेसिफिक एरिया, जोग्राफिकल एरिया के लिए। अगर ये आम होता उस समय के अरेबिया में कि सभी अपने आप को हम बोलते हैं, जैसे कि मैं आगे भी यार दावा ब्रदर टाइम बहुत ज्यादा हो गया, मैं कंटिन्यू नहीं कर पाऊंगा, मेरे को जाना है सुबह ऑफिस, मेरे को सोना पड़ेगा अभी। नेक्स्ट टाइम
बात
अपन
नहीं,
कब
कोई
मिलेंगे?
पता नहीं, नो आइडिया। कल तो मुश्किल है,
अरे
परसों तरसों देखूंगा।
चलो मैं सब्सक्राइब तो किया हूँ, अब नोटिफिकेशन आएगा तो मैं ज्वाइन करता हूँ फिर।
इंशाल्लाह ताला।
थोड़ा
ठीक है,
जल्दी करना ना, कोशिश ज्वाइन कर, मतलब
आज
9 के बाद कभी भी
ठीक
जस्ट
है।
बाद, है
चलो
ना?
सही है, देखता।
चलो
ओके
गुड
ओके,
नाइट अभी के लिए,
गुड नाइट।
चलो बाय।
गुड नाइट। सही। तो बात ये कर रहा था मैं कि भाई ग्रामेटिकल एरर, अगर आप कोई चीज़ से देखना है कि ग्रामेटिकल एरर है भी या नहीं है, तो आपको उस लैंग्वेज में देखना पड़ेगा, उस जबान की लैंग्वेज में देखना पड़ेगा। तो मैंने एग्जांपल दिया कि भाई अगर हम बोल रहे हैं हम, हैदराबादी में हम बोल रहे हैं कि हम ये चाह रहे थे कि आप सौदा ला दें, इंग्लिश में बोलेंगे वी वांटेड यू टू ब्रिंग द ग्रोसरीज। मैं एक बंदा हूँ और मैं हम बोल रहा हूँ, हम ये चाह रहे थे। इंग्लिश में ये, इसको हम ग्रामेटिकल एरर बोल सकते हैं इस तरह के कॉन्टेक्स्ट के लिए, क्योंकि सिर्फ रॉयल वी होता है इंग्लिश में, रॉयल वी, और इस तरह के वी इस्तेमाल हो सकते हैं कि वी वांटेड यू टू डू समथिंग, या रॉयल्टी के लिए होता है। ठीक है, जैसे अरबी में भी होता है ना कि अल्लाह सुब्हानहू व तआला ने अपने आप को वी कवर्ड इस्तेमाल किया, नहनु या नून का वो आया है, नून आया है तो वो स्पेसिफाई करता है वी कवर्ड। तो कुरान में भी है, लेकिन रॉयल वी के लिए होता है, इंग्लिश में भी होता है, लेकिन एक नॉर्मल कॉन्टेक्स्ट में वी का वर्ड गलत होता है ग्रामेटिकली। जैसे मुझे, मैं बोलूँ कि भाई मैं चाह रहा था कुछ करना, वी वांटेड टू डू समथिंग, ये ग्रामेटिकली हम बोलेंगे इसे प्रॉब्लम है। लेकिन हम हैदराबाद हैदराबाद वालों को या हिंदी में स्पेसिफिक तरह की, उसमें हम नहीं बोलेंगे ग्रामेटिकल एरर है, क्योंकि उसकी ग्रामर को हम उससे जज करेंगे, ना कि हम इंग्लिश से जज करेंगे। वैसे ही हमें अरबिक की बात है, और अरबिक में आपको अगर कोई ग्रामेटिकल एरर लग रहा है कुरान में या कुछ में, आपको लग रहा है भाई ग्रामर तो वहाँ तो अरबी में तो हम और स्कोप देंगे इंशाल्लाह ताला। तो ये ऐसा सीन है। ठीक है, अच्छा अगर आप लोगों को कुछ सवालात हैं तो प्लीज़ अभी बता दें, फिर मैं एंड कर रहा हूँ, फिर इंशाल्लाह ताला कोशिश करूँगा कि थोड़ी देर, आधा घंटा इंस्टाग्राम पे लाइव जाऊँ और देखूँगा। सही है, चलिए अभी तो मुझे लग रहा है कि कोई और सवालात नहीं है। शेयर करो यार, लाइक करो और सब्सक्राइब करो। इंशाल्लाह ताला मैं कोशिश करूँगा ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा आने की, लेकिन मुश्किल थोड़ा हो जाता है यार, 2-2 3-3 घंटे इतना टाइम देना ना, आजकल मुश्किल हो गया थोड़ा लेकिन इंशाल्लाह ताला कोशिश कर रहे हैं। विद दैट लेट्स एंड द लाइव। अस्सलाम वालेकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातहू।